Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the show where we wax poetic about the movies that we see on a month-to-month basis. It's time to crack open our movie memoirs.
Movie Memoirs?
Dragon, I'm not even gonna give it the fanfare because this month sucked.
Well, thanks for looping me in.
Dragon, oh my god, this month, dude. I mean, we're about to get into it with the news, and more serious stuff happened, about a plethora of deaths, for one, that we're about to get into. But Dragon, I just want to acknowledge, first of all, happy 3rd anniversary to Movie Memoirs. We started this stuff 3 years ago. Not to this day, but to this month. We started with the January 2019 Movie Memoirs. Here we are, January 2022. We did it. And Dragon, our reward for that is, I would say easily, including through all the pandemic shit, somehow the most dry month that we have had so far in the 3 years we've been doing this.
Now, I have a theory as to why that is.
Go ahead.
I've laid it out to you a little bit, but just I'm convinced the reason, I think ordinarily, January, to some degree February, but I'd say ever since Deadpool, that's
no February, Dragon. We have 2 movies coming out the first week of February that I'm actually looking forward to.
Yeah.
And that's 2 more movies than in January, all of January. So,
Yes, well, thank you for detracting from my point. But yes, what I'm saying is, with the exception of ever since Deadpool, I think February's been redeemed. So things do come out in February.
Right, yeah.
Plus, you've always had the Valentine's Day Massacre sort of thing with horror movies. So the point being, it's not that nothing comes out in February. The point being, January has always exclusively been kind of the dumping ground. But since the pandemic, because things were kind of held back and kind of all the air dates and everything were out, and streaming's come into vogue the way it has been since 2019 onward, I think January ordinarily has had things mainly on streaming. Where theatrically still a dead zone, still the dumping grounds. But because things now, I think now we just kind of logically, if we've caught up to, okay, well, all the stuff we had in advance or held over from years past and kind of years forward, it's we're out, we're plumb out, and this is what it looks like. I think we're back to endless crap.
Yeah, pretty much.
In this case, wastelands, and nothing's there. It's a nuclear winter. It's all gone. It's all snow.
So, folks, the 3 movies that you see on our thumbnail here, those are the only 3 that we saw.
Yeah.
And I want to also point out the, with the pandemic, Dragon, I don't know about you, but for me personally, this month, I want to say I have known more people that got the Omicron variant this month than I've known people who have gotten the virus in any format throughout the entire rest of the pandemic. I mean, it's been crazy. So having said that, I will definitely say that was definitely a factor for me not going out to the theater to see a movie like Scream that I was mildly interested in, but the reviews were middling to pretty good at best. So I was I really don't need to go out to see it, so that definitely there certainly were not a lot of movies that were theater worthy at all. Scream was probably the one that I could have seen, but alas, that's pretty much for me. It was the first month where since I've been able to go back to the theater where the pandemic's been kind of a factor for me. So just want to point that out there too.
Okay.
All right, so with that in mind, Dragon, let's get to the news. And, of course, I think the big thing on everyone's mind, January 2022 honestly might go down in, pop culture history as, one of the big months for celebrity deaths. I mean, my God, Dragon, it just felt like every other day we were losing someone. It was ridiculous.
Just endless death.
All right, so obviously we got to go to Betty White first and foremost. Dragon, you know what? I'm going to be totally honest with everyone and say I don't want to say I'm not a fan of the Gilmore Girls. It's just, it's not really my
Wait, did you just
thing.
say the Gilmore Girls?
I'm so sorry. The Golden Girls. I'm so sorry. Jesus Christ. That just proves how, it's like I'm a little indifferent to it. Like, I'm sure people love it for a reason. I'm sure it's got great writing. I just never really engaged with it. So for me, with Betty White, it's obviously more of like just her being a pop culture icon sort of thing. And, I feel like she was very much like the female equivalent to Stan Lee in the sense that, like, you just got this feeling like she was going to be around forever to a certain extent.
Yes, so indeed, folks, the last of the Golden Girls, has passed. And to be fair, Betty White was a holdover from last year. She passed like right on New Year's Eve, I believe. So that's it's very very unfortunate. And also like 99 too, like one away. Very sad. So yeah, I mean, honestly, she was like one of the royal comedy veterans, in the industry, and she was in everything. Again, much like Stanley, she cameoed or she had a small role in everything. I think her delivery was kind of perfect. She was just kind of like a funny, kind of like many times, kind of like it's like sarcasm with the biggest smile on its face, sort of thing.
Sure.
The most cutting remark, but like in the most pleasant way possible. That was her whole shtick. I always loved the fake rivalry she had with Ryan Reynolds, which cracked me up ever since they worked together on The Proposal. Really funny. She played his grandmother in that film, and it was like they had like this hilarious. Did you ever see that video of like her? Like there was like this.
No, I knew nothing about this rivalry.
Yeah. I mean, that's why for many years everyone wanted Betty White to. One of the reasons everyone wanted Betty White to play Blind Al in the Deadpool.
Oh my God! Oh,
for two reasons.
Yeah.
One, Deadpool is obsessed with the Golden Girls, mainly B. Arthur, who unfortunately was no longer around. So she would have, believe me, had Deadpool been made years ago, B. Arthur absolutely would have been Blind Al. But yeah, that's why Betty White was always kind of assumed to be that character. But regardless, on The Proposal, they had like this hilarious viral marketing thing, like promotional thing, where she basically, it's like Ryan Reynolds sits next to Betty White and she just like, she curses him out like very slyly, and just like she's real mean to him, and he's like, he then like he curses her back, but everyone hears that. It's like the Michigan J Frog thing. Ryan, how could you? Sandra Bullock's chewing him out for chewing Betty White out, and just Betty White gets the last. It's hilarious. So the big thing, I think, we've talked about this before. Prep and landing, I think, is a big kind of thing in the latter years for her. Her playing Mrs. Claus, and kind of a memorable kind of.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, for sure.
Honestly, it's real quick. I mean, the last thing the thing when I binged through Boston Legal a year or so back, I think it was probably 2 years at this point, given the changeover. When I watched through all of Boston Legal, Betty White had a hilarious arc on that show, where Betty White kept popping up as Alan Shore, the James Spader character, because he keeps having affairs with his secretaries. They hired Catherine Piper, the Betty White character, to be a secretary. God. Who knew? I forget if she knew him as a kid or not. But the idea is that she was just like, she was really catty to people, just really on point and funny, and she ended up. She ended up kind of murdering a man, and Alan Shore had to.
Oh no!
Seriously, it's hilarious. And here's the thing: the guy she killed was a happy-go-lucky murderer, so she was in the right. But Alan Shore had to get her off. And then when they brought her back, it's like, again, because she has like a friendship with Alan Shore, she missed the place, she missed her job. Because after the murder charge, she couldn't work there anymore. So basically, she would commit petty crimes just to hang out with Alan Shore again. It's hilarious. So, also Mary Tyler Moore. That was the other. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have a veteran in the industry, at a certain point, they kind of become immortal. Which brings us to, I believe, the next person we should talk.
Yeah. About. Also, we have Pink Pearl in the comments. Happy to have you. She says prep and landing is great. Indeed, it is. Also, I want to shout out Ponyo.
Yep.
Very small role, but very memorable role for me.
There's like if we listed all of Betty White's roles,
I know.
We'd be here for 2 days.
All right. Okay. Next up,
this one was painful. This is Sidney Poitier.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, man. And I feel like now is a good time to, if we haven't announced already, Dragon. I don't think we have. Black History Heroes, our Black History Month celebration. This month, Dragon, it's going to be all Poitier all the time.
Yes.
We're going to be covering 5 of the most influential Sidney Poitier movies.
Well, technically it's 4, Tiki, but
it's 4. Okay, thank you for correcting me. All right,
I'm saying, I'm really worried. Like, don't say 5.
Okay, 4. All right, 4
Okay.
of the most prominent Sidney Poitier movies. So, I mean, what is there to say that, like, we'll, trust me, folks, we're going to be talking about Poitier till we're blue in the face by the end of February. But just icon, legend, like, the Jackie Robinson of actors in a lot of ways, I think.
Well, so obviously, not just the Jackie Robinson of actors, but he was the black actor.
Right.
Like, as in, like, he was the Orson. He's like on the level of Orson Welles in the tomes of Hollywood. I mean, in terms of like how much you revolutionize and kind of make an impact. Like, I'm talking like a story they carve on the wall, man. Like, again, like Betty White, but even more so, immortality through talent and devotion to a craft. I mean, again, the first black man.
His name is just royalty. It really is. It's one of the most prestigious names in Hollywood history, I think.
I mean, the first black man to win an Oscar. I mean,
yeah,
again, it's not,
of course.
There's not like a huge list of black actors who have won the Oscar. But again,
sadly, no.
Sadly,
the Oscar, that's a whole other conversation.
I forget if it's past one hand or not yet. But yeah, it's sad. It's quite sad.
I know.
But yeah, so here's the thing. I mean, for me, the introduction to him was Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which I assume that was.
Yeah, that was a lot of people's introduction. I feel like that movie, a lot of people watched it in high school, like I did. So,
I mean, for me though, honestly, when I kind of knew the man's name before just like that movie, it was there was this running gag through Psych where Gus and Sean Spencer, Gus. Dulé Hill does a really fun impression of Mr. Tibbs, where they keep having this gag where he cues Gus up for the whole, and they call me Mr. Tibbs. Like, through that line, because again, it's the icon. It's the I'm your father. It's like it's Hollywood.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Tiki. It's like one thing you got to remember with this guy, and we'll move on. Is that he had to preserve, like the reputation of black excellence, which is a lot of pressure to hoist on one guy's shoulders. Like, think about this. You don't have, you don't have, the Denzel Washingtons. You don't have the Chadwick Bosemans. You don't have the Giancarlo Esposito.
Sure.
Without this guy just kind of leading the example, without him just being the original, kind of like example of like a true Hollywood act, like old school Hollywood at its finest in what black excellence looks like on screen. That's Sidney Poitier, unequivocally.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Okay, now speaking of ones that hurt, dear God, this one was very sudden and hurt a great deal. Bob Saget.
This was easily, to me, the most tragic of the month. And I think the thing that made it tragic was everyone's reaction to it. Dragon, not since Robin Williams have I seen such an outpouring of love and of just sheer sadness that he's gone from Hollywood at large, man. This guy just seems like he had absolutely no enemies. Like everybody just fucking loved this guy. Pink Pearl says, Bob Saget.
Danny Tanner.
Yeah, I wasn't a Full House kid. I was definitely an America's Funniest Home Videos kid, though. And then, of course, when I got a little older, I discovered a little movie called The Aristocats. Crats, not cats. Way different movie.
When I was a kid, though, I did find it weird. Like, wait a minute. So is Tim Allen in the Aristocats? Well, obviously, no, it's not. That's not true at all.
God, can you imagine?
No, because Tim Allen is in the Aristocrats, but every time you look it up, it's like for a brief second, it's like, oh, wait a minute, Tim Allen, they put him in a Disney. And here's the thing, I swear to you, sometimes they got it wrong. Like before the control it has now, like at a time they would mislist it. I'm convinced. Where you would have the
enigma of Bob Saget for me,
yeah.
And this is why I think he's such a memorable person. He is like. At both times, Hollywood's, like the humble TV dad of Hollywood, and also one of the most filthy comedians that we've ever seen in the stand-up industry.
Very easily.
It's such a crazy enigma.
just the dichotomous nature. It's just wonderfully dichotomous to be able to encapsulate both the American sitcom dad and the world's
And not
filthiest
only that,
comedian.
but unlike someone like BoJack Horseman, Dragon, he's a genuinely beautiful human being who touched so many people.
Yes, so that's the thing. So again, just a beloved figure in two worlds. Between I was a Full House kid, so of course I knew, of course, Bob Saget. Yeah, and I did have that. My realization with Bob Saget was my favorite dirty thing that he's done was
What?
it was my introduction to my here's everyone had like that wake up call moment where they realized like, wait a minute, Bob Saget, he's doing this. For
Right,
me, it
right, right.
was here's the obscure. No one ever talks about this one. Okay, so he was in the not so good prequel to Dumb and Dumber called Dumb and Dumber.
Oh God, don't get me started.
I bring it up because
that
Bob
movie
Saget
is ableist as all hell for
okay, my
one.
point. Okay,
But I digress.
Okay, my point.
I'm sorry, that movie fucking triggers me, dude.
Okay, well, this is wait specifically that one or just in general?
Dumb and Dumber, you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about the prequel. Yes, Dumb and Dumber.
Fuck that movie.
Okay,
that
so
movie's
that's okay.
ableist as all hell.
Okay, but the original Dumb and Dumber, do you like that?
It's fine, I guess. It's not one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies.
I mean, no, it's fine. Anyway, regardless, I'm just clarifying. Anyway, so Bob Saget had a really memorable cameo in that film where it's kind of like occurred to me, oh my god, look, there's Bob Saget. He's playing a father. And then, of course, we have this, like, if you're going to do a bathroom joke, you got to admit, this is pretty funny. Where Bob Saget, basically, the young Harry character has melted this candy bar, and instead of cleaning up, he's smeared it all over the bathroom. But again, it's a candy bar. But Bob Saget doesn't know that. So Bob Saget goes up, just this torrent of. There's crap. He's not saying that. He says, there's crap everywhere. There's crap all over that. And then later on, he's hit by a car.
That does sound funny.
And then later on, like at the very end of the movie, Harry is like mud, like from a bus or something, like smears it, like hits him like a puddle of mud. He's covered in mud. And he gets hit by Bob Saget's car, and he's like, "You're covered in crap. What happened? Do you always enter? Do you walk around like?" Anyways, so Bob Saget's like the like one obscenity, but like to ad nauseum is hilarious, and I love that he was actual friends with John Stamos and Dave Coulier. It always touched me, and I read his book recently, and. I mean, you heard about his charity work, right? His sister had scleroderma, I believe. It's kind of like this horrible bone disorder of some variety. I'm shorthanding it tremendously, but yeah, I mean, Tiki, like he was like a next generation he was kind of building like a next generation Rat Pack. Because Don Rickles, he was really close friends with John Stamos, but Bob Saget absolutely cut from the same cloth as a Rickles in terms of the filthy comedian. Only in Don Rickles' case, he's the insult comic.
Sure.
But yeah. I mean, there's I watched a bunch of his stand up after his passing. I've heard about some of it. I've just kind of seen more talk about it. And the really chilling thing about Saget was he was podcasting till the end. Like he was still doing stuff.
Yeah, I know. I'm well aware.
I mean, the tragedy is this is a guy who, as hilarious as he was, he laughed in the face of tragedy. This is a guy who lost all of his loved ones systematically over time, and we still don't know how he passed. I assume he passed the same way all the men in his family have, where the heart gave out.
That's what I'm assuming. Yeah,
that's the thing. So it's utterly just it's sad.
All right, Dragon, I've got an antidote about Louis Anderson. We'll
get there. Do you have a cure to some poison?
What?
You have a cure to some poison?
Oh my god.
Anecdote. Go on.
We'll get there. It involves Bob Saget's podcast.
Yes, I'm glad you're going there with that. Okay.
All right.
Peter Bogdanovich.
All right. So here's a guy who directed a bunch of movies that I probably should have seen by now, but I haven't.
Yes. Long story short,
he seems like a very the Last Picture show was the big one. When I saw that on his film resume, I was like, God damn, I really need to see that movie. I actually never have.
So Bogdanovich is like a Renaissance man in Hollywood. Here's the thing: I knew him mainly through his acting roles. I mean, honestly, two things. I knew him through his acting roles, and I knew him through him as a film historian. As in, anytime there'd be a documentary on film, he would usually pop up.
Right.
So that's probably
where I know him from.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If you saw a picture of the guy, which I assume you probably ran into, you'd probably recognize. Oh yeah, I know this guy. He just can't place from what he's been in documentaries all the time talking about movies. So the two acting roles I know him from mainly, he was in The Sopranos. He played Tony Soprano's therapist. His therapist. That was the gag of the therapist.
Oh,
Which is many therapists do actually. They have their own therapist.
It's legit, man. It's a stressful career.
So Dr. Melfi, that's the Lauren Bracco character. She said, "Hey, he was her therapist," and it was like kind of a fun story there. Regardless, the last thing I saw him in, I was really good, by the way, and I keep telling you to watch this show. It's wonderful. It's on Amazon. He was on Get Shorty, the adaptation. He played the Ray Romano character's father, and it was a really great idea. Where the idea is that Ray Romano is a producer. And his father's a producer. However, Ray Romano is a producer of schlock until the Get Shorty story comes around. So, Rick Morweather's father gave him a huge inferiority complex because his father produced like all the Oscar-worthy movies and everything. So it was like and like now he's kind of like in the old age home stage. So it was kind of a fun kind of notion where he has to live up to his father, yet he has to pay for a caregiver for him. So it was kind of a Anyway, but Bogdanovich was good, and obviously story career stuff like The Last Picture Show. So it's again kind of the legacy factor with some of these guys.
All right, we have that guy in the comments. He says, "Okay, I'll just say the obvious. I think Ice Age Buck Wild is the greatest film of the 21st century." And he puts an asterisk instead of film. It's just thing. God, yeah, we'll get there. Pink Pearl says, "Happy Lunar New Year." Indeed. Okay, also Pink Pearl says, just saw a video of a Hot Ones video of Bob Saget. Yeah, he did a lot of stuff, man. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can just look back on even over the past year, which makes it all the more crazy that he was like so active right up until the end.
Absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, let's see who's next.
Robert Bruce.
Okay, so yeah, first of all, I want to acknowledge, try Googling this guy. Good luck. You're going to get a bunch of Braveheart references.
To be fair, I mean, I think it probably, in retrospect, it would be more helpful to say Rob Bruce or Rob Bruce Comic Book Man, but
there you go.
Robert.
So I didn't watch a ton of Comic Book Man, but I definitely remember him. And it's always sad when someone from the geek sphere dies, Dragon. Like someone like of course, John Schnepp being one of the biggest passings in the, in the geek media sphere. And so that's kind of how I feel with this guy. It's almost kind of like a mini version of the John Schnepp death, where it's just a shame, where this guy just, he's obviously very passionate about what he does. And, I looked up a couple clips. I didn't have a ton of time to research him, but, like I said, it's always sad when, because I relate to like people like this, Dragon, people like this in the Hollywood sphere are probably about as close as we're ever. Like, this is like about as much as we can, aspire to, Dragon, is to be like a character on one of these geek culture reality shows, right? So it's like, in a way, like people like this, people like John Schnepp, they're kind of, they're the closest thing to us that we have in Hollywood. So just on that level, it's always just a shame to see people like this go too soon.
Yeah, I this one really hit me because I had watched all through Comic Book Man. I absolutely did, when I saw one. I was initially very startled by Comic Book Man actor found dead. Like, oh God. It's like a 1 in 5 shot of they would have led with Kevin Smith.
I know, right? Could you imagine if it was fucking Kevin Smith and that's what they led with?
As I'm saying, there's no way. So the point being, you still have before Comic Book Man and then Rob Bruce to kind of think about. I didn't even think Rob Bruce because I'm thinking the initial 4. But finding out oh, no, not Rob Bruce, because I loved it when Rob Bruce showed up because he was living the dream as a pop culture expert. The appraiser of the collectibles. He was Kevin Smith's guy. And, it wasn't like super close to Kevin Smith, but in regards to the show, he was invaluable on Comic Book Man. He was living the dream. And that's like, take this an ordinary kind of pawn shop thing, but you kind of make it the best thing where you have like an expert in the collectibles we care about.
He was very much the expert. Yeah, absolutely.
So I heard that there was an attempt at a spinoff because they liked him so much on the network before Comic Book Man just got canceled, where it was like, hey, we, they kind of shot like some sort of real like proof of concept for like a Robert Bruce spinoff, I guess. I assume just they literally okay, it's the old Robert Bruce kind of basically the cool stuff from Comic Man where he's appraising, probably like a Pawn Star sort of thing. Like I don't know, but all Rob Bruce.
Pawn Stars did like at least 2 or 3 spinoffs of the experts. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So probably, I'm assuming it would have been something along those lines.
Uh-huh.
Regardless, Rob Bruce was an interesting guy. More importantly, he didn't deserve to die in a storage unit in New Jersey. That's what devastates me is the fact that his family was looking for him. That's the thing that kind of gets me. Like, just to be found just like alone somewhere. That's sad.
Wait, how did he actually die?
God, I assumed it was I don't want to go as the stock response. I assumed it was a heart related matter. I
Oh
don't know exactly.
Jesus. Oh God.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know how he passed. All I know is
I
how he
mean,
was
that just
found.
that's awful that the family had to find him that way.
That's the thing. Like
Jesus.
the idea is he was. Well, what happened was he was missing for I guess a day or two, and then eventually he was
Uh,
found like his I guess his private storage unit where he was probably
oh
conducting some
God, that's
business.
awful.
I know. That's what I'm. Folks, this month sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, it does. It's just gonna get worse from here.
All right, oh God, fucking
I told you.
Louis
Worse.
Anderson. Yeah. Oh
Oh
Jesus.
wait. Actually, no.
We got one more after that.
We have Gaspar Ulliel.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Dragon, out of everyone, this is probably the one I know the least about. But just the timing of it, though, the timing of it sucked.
Also, the circumstance yet again.
It was literally right after the Moon Knight trailer.
So yeah, Gaspar Ulliel.
It's like I can just imagine his family after the Moon Knight trailer comes out, like, "Oh, our Gasper, he's gonna be famous. He's on a Marvel show, and oh my God,
not just a Marvel show, Tiki. He's playing a bad guy.
Oh God, it's Dragon. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, he's playing Midnight Man, from what I understand, which already is a cool name. I know nothing about this character. I kind of want to know more. Like after Midnight Man, okay.
Yeah.
So so he started off as a young French model who then became an actor. And the main, honestly, outside of Moon Knight, the main thing to know Gaspard from is he played very well a young Hannibal Lecter in the movie that I'll be fully transparent.
It's not a good movie.
No, let me. Yeah, full transparency. Pointless film. It's not that it's bad, it's just completely pointless, especially after the Hannibal show that we now have, which basically renders this whole movie even more.
Oh, yeah, totally.
The movie was something that, again, the movie was like, you don't really need an origin for Hannibal Lecter. I mean, you need it mentioned once, which the Hannibal show did, and that's all you really need. Like, okay, we mentioned the origin, we don't need to see it. So it's a pointless endeavor. Nonetheless, it was very well acted by him. He played young Hannibal Lecter well. You absolutely bought that this young guy would become Anthony Hopkins. You buy it. And again, it's kind of an impossible position where, okay, Hannibal Lecter is an anti-hero somehow. And you kind of bought it. Again, didn't make sense in the tomes of all the movies together. But like on its own, it's like, that's not bad.
The only thing I remember about that movie is that it was really boring. I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, again, I'm not defending it as like it's not Yates. It's not.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
It's watchable, particularly for the performance. The performance was wonderful.
Right.
So, and again, I was surprised to hear he was in Moon Knight. That's the thing. Once his past, like, oh my God, he's in, because obviously he's not really. I don't think he's really in the trailer, to my knowledge.
No, I don't think he is really either. But
yeah, and the thing that just kills me is just the way he passed. This was kind of like God, I'm blanking on the actors. The one from Star Trek. Anton Yelchin. That's what. It
is. Yeah, right, for sure.
Little Yelchin-esque, and as a young man taken before his time through very
that death still fucks with me, honestly.
Now I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to say this with love. Okay.
Okay.
This is a needless death because, from what I understand, what happened was it was a skiing accident, and Gaspard did not wear his helmet.
Oh, man.
I don't know the specificities. I don't know how the whole ski thing works per se. I think the idea is he was crossing over into like another lane and didn't wear his helmet. And there was a hit to the head, and it did not help the situation. So,
yikes.
So that's what folks always wear your helmet. Okay, if they tell you to wear a helmet, it's for a reason. Okay?
Yeah.
So just to say that, we're going to move on to Louis Anderson.
Oh God! If Bob Saget wasn't the saddest death of the month, Dragon, this might have been.
Because we all know Louis Anderson in some way, shape, or form. At least we've heard of Louis Anderson.
My two biggest Louis Anderson things might not be things that a lot of people are familiar with. Most notably, Dragon, he was my first Family Feud host.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
He was the host of Family Feud when I first started watching Family Feud. Number two, Life with Louie.
Of course. And by the
That
way,
was the big one. That was the big one.
fun fact for people to check out Life with Louie if they weren't already enticed, which, by the way, I never watched Life with Louie, but after looking into it, it's something I definitely want to maybe kind of look into because it looks really interesting. Regardless, because when I
I
looked
feel
at
like
it,
Life with Louie and then Bobby's World were like kind of cut from the same cloth in
so that's
that
what I'm saying.
era.
There was a trend to basically give
Yeah,
comedians an
yeah.
animated series based on their bits or their stand up personas. And that's
Uh-huh.
why there's Rover Dangerfield. But
Oh God, Pink Pearl. Yeah, Louis Anderson. I mean, he was. Is there anything that Pink Pearl might have known Louis Anderson from that?
well,
You know.
well, okay. So real quick, let me finish my point with Life of Louie. Then I'm going to tell you
Okay, okay.
Okay, so I looked into Life of Louie, and I know something familiar about the animation style, so I looked into it, and I was absolutely right. Hyperion did the
Oh,
animation. So Hyperion for the kids, the company that did the Brave Little Toaster, the original.
well, what do you know? There we go.
Okay, so the biggest thing Louis Anderson ever did, I think the biggest thing, and it'd be impossible to forget him. It's Coming to America. He's the only white actor in Coming to America.
Oh God, right.
And again, as Maurice, it was a fun little character. And they brought him back for the sequels. That's the biggest thing he did in his career. But the thing is, Louis Anderson had bit parts through in a lot of stuff. Like he mainly through TV. Like I want to say he had a guest spot on Fresh Prince. He was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. For a bit.
Yeah, you're right though. He was almost like a cameo actor.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the main thing people know Louis Anderson from is his stand-up. That's the main thing, where the guy had a really good set. Regards to his stand-up. I think he was friends with Jim Carrey. Again, kind of the Comedy Store era as well. I think that's where his main kind of hangout was. You and I talked about him very recently. Actually, we talked about Louis Anderson last year with one of his voice roles. Here's something Pink Pearl might know.
Okay.
He was in an episode of The Grim Adventures of Billy Mandy. He was in the Fear and Loathing in Ennsville as I like to think the Michael Moore trucker.
Well, that's a singular episode. I don't want to count our eggs before they hatch in terms of Pink Pearl. No.
All right, fine. My point is, you remember the creepy fingernail guy. That was
sure.
Also, I mean, I think Tiki, when you and I think of, speaking of, you brought up Family Feud, I was thinking of something different with family. When I think of Louis Anderson, the first thing that always pops in my mind is, I'm Louis Anderson.
I'm Louis Anderson. Absolutely.
Peter's looking for Big Fat Paulie, and he says, like, Big Fat Paulie. He says, I'm Louis Anderson.
I think that is what got Pink Pearl. I'm pretty sure.
Well, tell him about the Bob Saget thing, Tiki.
Okay. Oh dear God, this fucks me up. This fucks me up, dude. Oh God. So Bob Saget, he had an interview with Louis Anderson on his podcast. It was pretty recently, right? Like it was about a year ago.
It was a few months ago actually. It was like
that makes it worse.
Maybe 6 months, I think.
Was someone was in Vegas, right? Was Louis in Vegas? Was Bob in Vegas?
Unfortunately, I didn't watch it. You guys know, I heard it brought
up.
Yeah,
I didn't watch it either. I just know this antidote offhand.
I think you're right. I think Vegas was involved. I don't know if I assume Louis was in Vegas.
I think what it is that Louis has a stand-up set in Vegas. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so, oh God. So Louis, when they're signing off on the podcast, Louis like, hey, Bob, the next time you're in Vegas, you need to come see me. And then Bob Saget ends up dying in Vegas.
Oh, God, it's awful.
That's so fucked.
Yep, and it is. And again,
I love that. I'm sorry, I love that Pink Pearl recognized Louis Anderson just from the I'm Louis Anderson.
I'm Louis Anderson. We didn't laugh, we cry, folks.
Yeah.
That guy.
I literally said that antidote just because that other words. Anyways, yeah.
Guys, that guy says first Norm, then Bob, now Anderson. Oh God, they're going after the comedy legends. We need to send people to protect Bill Burr at all costs. I don't think Bill Burr's in that much immediate danger. I'm sure there's another comedian that is. I mean, dear God, I hope no one's going to kill Bill Burr. I'll say that much.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Okay, let's see. So then, so if things
Bill Burr died on the set of Better Call Saul.
Don't say that.
Oh, God.
Remember, we almost lost Odenkirk, man. That's not funny.
I know.
That ain't funny. So, okay, so if you're folks thinking, oh man, that must be the worst stuff on there. It's Louis. Well, let me tell you how things can possibly get in. We saved the worst for last in terms of the deaths. So, Peter Robbins.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge it's the death of the character more than the death of the person that is sad in this case.
Tiki, to be fair, people are imperfect beings, though.
Yeah, I'm just saying the allegations against him are pretty serious. I just want to throw that out there. I just think it's just fucked up, like in terms of timing. That it's like we get all this death in January 2022. And then the very last one is fucking Charlie Brown. I mean, It's just like that's just some sort of like crazy like joke that the universe is sending at this point. But
so Peter Robbins, for the folks, just to clarify, not just a Charlie Brown, the original Charlie Brown. As in the first time we did animation of the Peanuts, we had a voice for Charlie Brown. It was young Peter Robbins. I mean, Charlie Brown Christmas, Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, A Boy Named Charlie Brown, pretty much all the OG stuff. That was Robbins. So, again, I mean, in my opinion, the original Charlie Brown was always my favorite voice of him personally. And, he really loved this role, by the way, even towards the end. Like, he had a tattoo of both Charlie Brown and Snoopy on his body. He never, he had the struggles of a child actor, but never per se never took it out on like what gave him the fame in the first place. That was something that was kind of comforting. And here's the thing: the only other thing I knew Peter Robbins from, and it was always delightful to me, was he had a guest spot on Get Smart, and it was this really thing where it's like, wait a minute, I know that voice. And it was like that kid's like, oh my god, it's like it has to be him. I looked it up. Dear God, it's the voice of Charlie Brown. Him as a boy in the '60s. So it's right around the time he would actually be. Mm-hmm. It's literally Charlie Brown in live action. It was playing a little boy genius. It was adorable. And just in closing, what Robbins for me is that the guy struggled with mental illness through a lot of his life, and the saddest thing to me is that it seems like, and we don't know for sure, but the word is he was working on an autobiography, just kind of acknowledging kind of the healing journey of I've done bad stuff, I've done good stuff, I'm
yeah, and Drake, I don't want to call him a monster, all right? I really don't. So, I'm just like, I just want to acknowledge that there are some abuse allegations out there, but those allegations, they could just be allegations. I just want to acknowledge it, just so we're not like hero worshiping him.
I mean, sure. I mean, Tiki, to my, I don't know anything truly about the situation. I just know what I read a blurb about in terms of like what the deal was. Same. Based on that, Tiki, all I can say is
I'm just covering my bases, Dragon. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm saying it sounded like it was stuff that emanated from the mental illness in question, assuming it was mostly like threats and stuff and behaviors and that sort of thing, which then obviously did not bode well. Then again, the point being, he was working on himself towards the end. It sounds like he was in the middle of just kind of like he was really reflecting inward. And it's a shame that right as he's in the midst of that, and hopefully, we don't know if it would have worked. We don't know if it would have taken. It's people are works in progress. We don't know if it
of course
would have taken. But it's kind of sad that we didn't get to kind of see, maybe you could have done it.
Yeah, I hear you.
We don't take notice of this until it's too late, and I think that's kind of sad. So I'll leave it on that somber note. All right.
Right.
So we're gonna
we're finally done with the deaths. Jesus Christ!
So we've ripped off the Band-Aid. Now we're gonna break out the gauze. Now we're gonna go to the fainting couch.
All right. So this next news, it's not nearly as bad as any of the deaths, but it still kind of sucks. So Turning Red is going straight to Disney Plus, and man, if I were Pixar, I would be so pissed right now.
Yeah, again, it's kind of twofold where I absolutely sympathize with everyone at Pixar in terms of the same thing happened with Soul, where they wanted Soul to come out and they were proud of it, and then obviously just they get the call of well, it can't come out in theaters, which they're all devastated by. But I mean, as a viewer and a fan of Pixar, I kind of love the comfort from home, but I absolutely agree that I wish it were reversed. I truly do. I wish the Disney films that they're cranking out right now were the Disney Plus releases, and the Pixar films, I think, are a little bit more deserving of the theatrical thing. But that said, Luca
also exists, so I'm going to have to inherently disagree.
Fine, inherently disagree all you like. Fine. That's just my opinion. My opinion is like Encanto is something I absolutely, had I known it would be on Disney Plus, I would have waited for it. That's just
Right,
my
right.
2 cents. Regardless, it's a shame because by the same it's tricky because Luca, from what I understand, they're doing record numbers, which is why they're inclined to put Turning Red exclusively on Disney Plus, because the numbers, people are watching it like crazy because the access to it and they're having a great time with it, and it really
And
benefited
to be
Luca.
fair, that's where like most of the Encanto fandom has come from as well. Was when it got like Encanto kind of blew up when it got put onto Disney Plus.
That's what I'm saying. You can't. It's an unfortunate situation because you want these films to get, you want the people who work their tails off to make these films to get their moment in the sun, and you want to see these films the way they deserve to be seen. Absolutely. But I mean, the fact that the films are
I
being
mean, to be fair,
enjoyed.
Encanto is most definitely getting its moment in the sun right now.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing with, again, Luca had it, now Encanto had it, and
Right,
I
right,
assume Turning
yeah.
Red will have it as well. I mean, the question right now, it seems like they're sticking to their guns with Lightyear coming out in theaters, but at this rate, I'm wondering, will it end up on Disney Plus as well? So that's the thing. I mean, it's, to me, it's not the end of the world, but I completely, I feel bad for the people involved. Yeah, they deserve a little better in that regard, and the fact that it's out of their hands and it's like, well, we can't control it, but I like to think they're going to take solace in the fact that it is being enjoyed and is going to be appreciated, even if it's not going to be up there with the financial juggernauts that are going on right now. But right now, no one's really, outside of one webhead, and no one's really basking in financial financial piles of money.
Okay, Pink Pearl has some comments. She says Meatloaf. And yeah, we didn't address Meatloaf just because neither of us really like Dragon. I know approximately 2 songs from him. I know Bad Out of Hell, and I know the one that everyone knows. So I will do anything for love. So it's like
me too. That's all I know about him.
there's not. I will say though, Meatloaf absolutely killed it in Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny as Jack Black's dad. Like I very much remember him in that movie, but that's about it. Oh, and of course Rocky Horror. So
I wonder if he enjoyed. Do you know why he's called Meatloaf?
No idea.
Do you think he just really enjoyed Meatloaf through his life?
I don't know, Dragon.
Honestly, I gotta be honest. I'm just gonna say, because he didn't make the actual list for us. I'm just gonna say it. Meatloaf intrigued me based on his name only. I gotta be honest. That's the only reason I knew the 2 songs. That's all I knew. The 2 songs and the name, and honestly, the name intrigued me more. I'll be honest. It's the name. Like, why is he called Meatloaf? Was he a large man too? Was that it?
He was a large man.
That's what I'm saying, right? It was like a childhood insult that just kind of took after. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh God. Pink Pearl also says, I want to see Turning Red so bad. I'm excited for streaming. Yeah. I can't go to local theaters. Our local one closed.
That's what I'm saying. There is an upside to what.
Yeah, sure.
So it is going to be seen at least.
But this is really cool news on Pink Pearl's part. She says, I'm acting in a Disney movie as an extra. It's filming here in New Orleans, the remake of The Haunted Mansion. Pink Pearl, that's freaking awesome. That's awesome. I can't
Congrats.
You're going to have to when that comes out, you're going to have to give us the timestamp to show us where you are,
Absolutely. We know people who've been in things as well. Like Jenny Tran, I saw her in Space Force. It was a bit part, but she was there.
And also, I just think it's super cool. Like the fact that the Haunted Mansion movie is filming in New Orleans, that gives me a little bit of hope. Not going to lie.
That is on brand. If you're going to go somewhere for the Shoot the Haunted Mansion, we're better.
Yeah, and also let us know if you see any Danny DeVito sightings on set. That would be fun.
He's not Bigfoot, Tiki.
I know. I'm just if the man happens to be there. Anyways. Okay, I would love that as an origin for an artist name. He just says, well, I enjoy Meatloaf. She says she met Danny DeVito. Nice. Okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and move on. Pink Pearl. I'm sure that's awesome, though. I'm sure it was an awesome experience.
Disney, Pink Pearl gone for a while, but look at the misadventures.
Yeah.
What lovely misadventures.
Well, it's Claude that I'm really worried about because I think I might have accidentally kicked Claude out of the community.
Which is unfortunate. You killed Claude Karinga. I hope you're happy.
I know. Fuck.
Yep. Good luck sleeping at night. Okay, we're gonna move on. All right. So
I do. Oh God. Yeah. He never
Claudie, if
responded
you're
to
out
I
there,
reached out on Skype. He never responded.
Claudie, we miss you desperately. We hope we didn't tick you off. It was him. He pushed the button.
Anyways. All right. So let's get into some good news. All right.
Yeah, it was more like weird news, as I phrase it.
Ah.
Ah.
Okay. So yeah, there's a Weird Al biopic starring Daniel Radcliffe.
Coming to Roku.
Yeah, the Roku part, I don't really, I still don't really understand what Roku even is, but
Well, I think technically, I'm hoping because based on one of the things we're going to talk about later, I think it means Roku's might be free, so that's kind of
uh-huh.
Yes. So
So the
yes,
weird thing about this is that like Daniel Radcliffe is not nearly the body type of Weird Al at all. Like, and honestly, if it's Weird Al, I kind of hope that they make a joke about that.
well, it's funny you mentioned that. I don't know if you heard this or not. Weird Al is writing his own biopic, which is so
Oh
rare.
man.
And do you remember, like, Weird Al had this great comment? Everyone's been talking about it. I'm sure. I don't know if you've heard it through the atmosphere or what here, where it's basically Weird Al said, I promised another movie 33 years, every 33 years after UHF. And so far, right on track, which is such a delightfully, on brand comment for that guy. I love it. So, but yeah, I mean, this is exciting. It sounds like there's going to be like an irreverent charm. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be kind of the Weird Al parody of like something like, for example, Rocket Man, kind of the Rocket Man version of Weird Al, which would be kind of like a parody of like playing with the style and kind of the narrative structure, perhaps like a parody of a
What if it's like a parody of biopics?
That's what I'm saying. I think it could
Like they
end up
kind of
being
do like a Walk Hard sort of thing with it.
That's really what I think is going to happen. I think perhaps that's why they cast Daniel Radcliffe. You're thinking about casting Weird Al. My go-to, mind he's my go-to for a number of biopics. Will be Paul Rudd.
Uh-huh. I
But
could see that, yeah.
But I mean, it's really helped by the fact he dressed as Weird Al for Halloween last year.
Yes,
So
yeah. Oh god, that was an adorable Halloween costume. Oh my god.
And remember, what made that even more adorable, the fact that his daughter went as the Wasp. So
Yes,
Paul Rudd's response,
yes.
he's going to go as Weird Al.
Oh, I love
See,
that.
to me as a kid, I would have viewed that as very cruel and unusual. Like, what? My dad's Ant-Man? He won't go take a trick-or-treating as Ant-Man? Anyway. So yeah, speaking of biopics and such. So Chris
that guy
Evans
says if he's writing, there will definitely be a meta joke about how weird the casting is. I think of Weird Al as Weird Al or Slash or the kid from Home Alone. Right. I guess in terms of casting, Gully Culkin, Weird Al. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, right. What's Slash?
Slash is someone who was in a metal band, I think. Anyways.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm sorry. So Chris Evans cast as Gene Kelly.
Yes, so I'm very delighted by this news. I'll admit I'm a little puzzled at what the game is for the movie, but I won't lie. I am intrigued regardless. It is, of course, I'm already sold with Evans playing.
They're building a cinematic universe, and him and Tom Holland, Fred Astaire are going to cross over. Dragon.
Don't tease me with that, Tiki. Seriously, I love that. It's just so funny. We're casting these MCU stars as these Hollywood icons.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm loving it. So here's the thing. So Evans loves indie movies, and the premise of this film is the easy comparison people have been making is like Jojo Rabbit, where it's going to be, from what I understand, the movie takes place in 1952, which is when Singing in the Rain was made.
Yeah, Gene Kelly is the Singing in the Rain guy, Pink Pearl. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. So, from what I understand, it's basically a 12-year-old kid who's probably walking the MGM lot or like so close to it. He's basically imagining a friendship with kind of a version of Gene Kelly. So he's imagining a friendship of the movie star Gene Kelly, which is probably either after or during.
That's interesting.
So that's the thing. So it's either, the real question is, will it be during the shoot of Singing in the Rain or after Singing in the Rain, in which everyone has seen him. So the kid's probably imagining Gene Kelly.
I would picture it would be after. Yeah,
that's the thing. It could be either because they shoot it and it's released in that same year. So it's entirely possible. So yeah, that's regardless. And here's the thing, Tiki. I don't know if you heard about this. So Ryan Johnson, he's producing it, which is, so I assume what happened is that Chris Evans pitched this. He got a really good writer for it. He got John Logan, who wrote the Aviator biopic. And I've
Yeah,
seen
that's
movies.
not the best written biopic in the world, in my opinion.
Really, you don't like The Aviator?
Tom Holland has played Fred Astaire, that guy.
Yes, they're doing a Fred
I
Astaire.
like The Aviator, Dragon. I just think it's a little drawn out.
Well, he's done other things. The Aviator was the one I went to. He's
Yeah,
done. He did something else. I think you might have liked the other thing, but I'm blanking on it. Regardless,
definitely not. It's definitely not one of my favorite Scorsese movies.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
anyway,
I don't know what to tell you.
so it sounds like you really wanted that Nolan Howard Hughes movie that hasn't happened.
I mean, I didn't know that was a hot take.
But I don't
Like,
know.
it's good. I would put it in, like, like kind of like a B, like a low B, a low A, high B tier as far as Scorsese goes. But I don't think it's top tier Scorsese.
Okay, my point is, I suspect what happened here is this is probably a pure indie film, and then Ryan Johnson, having worked with Chris Evans on Knives Out, it probably gave him a little bit of juice. So I think it's going to end up being like kind of a bigger film than initially was intended to be, which is not a bad thing necessarily. More people get to see biopics and kind of perhaps something kind of an indie concept like a Jojo Rabbit. It's nothing wrong there. So
yeah, I think Big Pearl. I think Jojo Rabbit is probably a better comparison than Saving Mr. Banks.
I mean, there's a little bit of Saving Mr. Banks there in terms of it being, but you're right though. We don't know anything about this movie outside of the whole it's an imagined friendship. So it's Jojo Rabbit's probably just like less Nazis though. So obviously I love me some Gene Kelly. I love me some Chris Evans. So I'm there.
All right. Okay. This isn't really. I mean, it's The Boys season 3, June 3rd. I'll be there.
They announced the date. That's all. I mean,
it'll be the one time I use Amazon Prime the whole year, probably.
Oh, come on.
Maybe the Get Shorty show you told me about.
And what about the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? There's that too. If you ever got on board
I saw the first couple episodes, and it's not really my thing. I don't know. It didn't grab me.
Really? I thought you just gave it one episode. You gave it more than one?
I gave it 2. Yeah.
Did you finish the second one?
Anyways, Robert Downey Jr. is playing some real-life World War II guy in Nolan's biopic.
Mm-hmm.
The MCU actors really are creating a biopic cinematic universe.
I don't know if the ink's dry on Downey Jr., but I hear that's. I know they're looking at him for that. Yeah, but
anyway, I mean, that would be like a weird crossover, like the world, like that character mixed with, the Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, but
Just remember, Tiki, there are other Amazon shows you watch. I mean, there's Invincible and The Boys, and again, there's the stuff I recommend to you. I don't know, there's a chance.
All right, fair enough. Anyways,
okay. Plus, Good Omens.
Oh, and there's also Hotel Transylvania, which we'll get to.
But also Good Omens season 2. There's stuff coming for you.
Yeah. Anyway,
so also they we don't even have to talk about this because they didn't really show much. They gave you like a little taste of that Boys animated like animatrix sort of thing they're doing, the diabolical animated series. They show like a baby lasering through a bunch of guys. Okay, lastly, so Defoe, we like Defoe.
Yes,
we're friends of Defoe.
Sure.
So Defoe, I guess he was asked because probably doing some Spider-Man press, or like I think he was on SNL recently. So the point being, Defoe's been on people's minds. He's been talking to people, and also he's been in a lot of stuff recently, like Nightmare Alley and what have you. I'm sure he's busy. So he was in an interview somewhere, and he basically said he would love to do. He had an idea for if they did a sequel to the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. His pitch is he would play an imposter Joker to kind of challenge the original. And that's how you would get Defoe, because he's constantly told all the time that they want him to play the Joker. And so many people have always said
Willem Dafoe, just Pink Pearl is.
Yes, yeah. Willem Dafoe. Sorry, yes, the Green Goblin from Spider-Man.
Just to clarify.
Yes, so Willem Dafoe. Also, he's in the Aquaman movies. Anyway.
Yes.
Point being, Defoe. A lot of people have always asked Defoe to play the Joker, and I think he's just kind of thought the only way he'd play.
That I'm just now realizing that Defoe is like famous for playing villains, and his name is literally Defoe.
Yeah.
God, that's fucking stupid. But anyways, go.
What do you think about this whole thing? The idea of like he wouldn't play necessarily like the end all be all Joker, but he had kind of an interest. Honestly, the only way I could probably buy like a Joker sequel to that film would be like, yeah, I mean, if this.
Well, ironically enough, Dragon, there are serious talks right now about there actually being a sequel. cool. Like
that's what I'm saying. So he says that, and then that's revealed. So that sounds a little. I don't know if they're gonna do that.
I mean, I would love it, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that's a super unique idea.
The idea of, again, it would be less about just just the Joker doing things, it'd be more about, again, a fun slant on the ideology of the Joker. Where it's like the Joker inspiring other variations of himself and being, again, kind of the polar opposite of Batman to a degree, which is interesting. I don't know. So I'd be down. Honestly, I'm open to it. I think it sounds kind of cool, and also would be a big wish fulfillment thing for people to see Dafoe as a Joker.
Totally.
What his take on that would be.
All right. So let's move on to the TV side of things, Dragon.
Yeah, a lot of TV, folks. There's very little movies, but there's a lot of TV.
There is a lot of TV. You know what's funny about that, Dragon? There was a lot of good TV. I'm saying a lot of good TV this month.
Yes.
And there were even some really good albums. There were some really solid video games. And even in the world of theme parks, a couple really solid attractions opened.
Really?
Yeah, like I know a coaster at SeaWorld Orlando just opened. So, it's like, it seems like movies were like literally the one thing this month that just totally got the cold shoulder in the realm of entertainment. Right.
Okay.
Anyways, so, Dragon, can we just kind of go through really quickly just the first two, Cobra Kai and Dexter?
Yeah, so obviously we did an extensive kind of like spoiler cast on both, on Cobra Kai.
Dexter, we literally talked through every episode.
That's what I'm saying. So we've extensively talked about these two shows. But so Cobra Kai's season 4, I mean, for me, I think we both have kind of agreed, good, but not as great as the past 3 seasons.
Yeah, we're like the two people on the internet that don't think it's the best season.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I still.
In fact, I think you and I agree it's probably our least favorite of the 4.
I mean, like, that's the thing. I don't want to say. I mean, yeah, by definition, sure. I mean, in terms of, I don't like it as much as the other 3 seasons. So by that logic, it would be the least favorite. I mean, sure.
Like, I just think there's way too many subplots. Granted, I think the Terry Silver stuff is amazing, Dragon. Like, I really. Oh, by the way, fun fact. Did you know that the actor that plays Terry Silver is younger than Ralph Macchio?
I've been hearing that all over the place, yes.
Isn't that fucking wild?
It is. It's crazy. And remember, the implication, he might have been a little older than John Kreese in that.
I know.
The Third Karate Kid, which is crazy. So, I mean, for me, look, I continue to love Johnny Lawrence and what we do with that story and what we do with him here. But yes, Terry Silver, his reintroduction is very well handled.
And I'll give credit where credit's due. I think both Robbie and
Kenny Payne.
What?
Kenny Payne, the new addition.
Yeah, Robbie and Kenny, and then also Tori. What's her name? Tori. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so we fixed Robbie.
Both of them kind of got like serious upgrades. Like I said, Dragon, I think the one problem with this season is that it just kind of focused on too much.
I mean, absolutely. When we fixed Robbie, we actually gave Tori some depth, which is not a problem at all. But yes, I agree. The problem of the season was that for me, at least, was that we spun our wheels with the dojos teaming up. And in effect, what we end up doing is we wasted the whole season because that doesn't go really the places we expected it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And just again, I'm at a place where unless season 5 really turns things around in a way we just haven't thought of here, unless it really turns things around or end season 5, which I'm getting the sense that's not going to happen. There should be a resolution. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to that next season. I'm hoping there's like an ending, but I really want it to end at season 5, but it sounds like they're going with the blank check approach here. I don't know.
All right, so Dexter New Blood. Dragon, how do you, like, now that we've had some time away from the finale and with all the discourse going on, how are you feeling?
So, I mean, look, Clyde Phillips, he returns to end Dexter on his own terms. And I personally, I still think it was great, but in hindsight, I do think, looking back on it, it could have been tweaked. But compared to most Dexter seasons, again, with the stuff that we do have that could have been tightened, again, it's tremendously on point story-wise compared to those seasons where we just have like random tangents like, well, this isn't going to pay off, or we're stuck kind of looking at with these subplots. We didn't really have that here. At least We had a
I
story
mean,
in mind.
I don't think it's as good as seasons 1, 2, or 4 at the very least.
Well,
But
again, that's the season in total, Tiki. What I'm saying is seasons like season 2 particularly. Again, you have these offshoots of stuff you don't even in the good seasons, even like a season 4. It's like then we're doing Quinn stuff. I don't really need
yeah, I
Quinn
know you
stuff.
make that argument, but I'm just saying season 4 had way bigger highs.
Or the Skinner of season 3. It's like
Well, that's why I didn't list season 3.
that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying in general, with even the good seasons of Dexter, we had those story points that didn't quite. I don't think we had as much of that. I don't know.
Okay, I'll meet you halfway here. I do agree that New Blood might have been like the most consistent, like beginning to end story that didn't really have a lot of deviations to it.
Yes.
That's totally true.
Yeah.
I just think that I don't know. I just think that the like specifically the ones I mentioned, 1, 2, and 4. I just think those had like way bigger highs, and just like the style was more there. And honestly, I think New Blood did a few things that I don't know. I'm still not a big fan of. I think the ending really like it didn't. I actually liked the end. I actually don't mind Harrison going away, and kind of like that Incredible Hulk style, driving off into the wilderness sort of thing, and the letter and all that. Like, I didn't mind all that. Dragon, it's really the Dexter side of things that bothers me. And mostly it comes down to the freaking stupid thing he pulls in the jail.
I mean, look, I agree with you. I don't like how that went down either. So, but for me though, it's just like I think there is an advantage this season does have in its corner. I think that kind of distracts from some of that. Where again, it's like we're putting Dexter in a new situation. There's definitely some nostalgia for it. Man, Seagull is back and he hasn't lost the step in terms of how he plays the character and just kind of having fun with that. We got some really great performances from Jack Alcott and Clancy Brown, obviously. I mean, for me, no spoilers. I mean, for me, the end was fitting. But I think ultimately, end of the day, just the fact that it is still divisive amongst people is that it proves that no one's ever gonna be happy with a Dexter ending. I think at the end of the day, so we brought the original guy back. We had all the players back.
I think people would have been more happy with a Batista face off.
I mean, that's one thing though, Tiki. Do you still think it would have really brought everything home though? Do you honestly think?
Yes.
I'm not so sure. I don't know. I just don't think. I think no matter what the ending was, I don't think people would have been 100% happy with it, given some distance from where we were with it. Because I don't know, I'm happy with it. I think because I don't know. I think it's a show where we root for a serial killer, and that's going to lead to complexities in a final resolution of how that character story should necessarily end. I mean, for me, ultimately, Dexter New Blood it was great week to week. It was a great week to week return to television, which we haven't had in a long while to that degree. So I don't know. It was a fun watch nonetheless.
I mean, it's certainly better week to week television than the Book of Boba Fett. Hey yo. All right.
I'm just going to inch away. I'm just going to inch away to the left here. Anyways, my point. But you see my point though. Is I think it was just
definitely... Look, I don't want to spend too much time on it. We've already spent a whole season talking about it. All right.
Okay.
All right. That guy says I think the end is fitting. I just have some issues with the way they got there, but I don't hate it. Yeah, that guy are pretty much on the same page. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut off your point. I just I just don't I don't know. Right. If you have anything else you want to say, go ahead.
No. That's it.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Next up, we have Slugfest.
Yes. So Slugfest. So this was originally this was a Quibi show. Remember that stupid app thing on the phone where you can watch basically like 10 minutes of something on your phone. So let's see. It was just Jeffrey Katzenberg had that company, and it kind of folded, so it kind of fell to Roku. And the big thing is that the Russo brothers they produced this, and it's basically adapting a book that is focused on Marvel and DC's rivalry through the decades.
Oh, you're gonna hate me. I didn't really care for this all that much. I thought it was just okay.
I mean, it's fine. But Okay, well, what do you think of the production values?
They were fine. I mean, I honestly thought it was kind of awkward the way that it's like half documentary, half biopic. I don't know. Like, I'm not really a fan of that style to begin with.
Hmm.
Like, honestly, I would have rather just had one or the other. Like, I feel like it kind of clashes with each other in some ways. I mean, the acting's good and the production values are fine. It didn't blow me away or anything.
Hmm.
But more importantly, Dragon, unfortunately, I feel like this is another documentary that just kind of falls into the territory of like, yeah, this is told in a pretty decent way. It's just it's literally all stuff that I already kind of know.
Really, there were no surprises at all for you along the way.
And I'm
Nothing.
not going to say there's nothing that I didn't find out, but there weren't any like big revelations or anything. You know, there might have been like a few interesting tidbits along the way, but I don't know, Dragon. I just found this one to be kind of like, it was enjoyable, but it was pretty middle of the road in my opinion.
All right, fair enough. I mean, again, it's only like it's like 10 minutes, like less than 10 minutes a pop. So I mean, again, there's only so
Well,
much.
maybe that's kind of a part of the problem for me, honestly. My favorite comic book documentary, at least from what I can remember, Dragon, I love that fucking History Channel documentary they put out.
Yeah, you mean the one with the Keith David narrated, right?
Yeah, man,
I think
that's a
it's
damn good one, man.
I think it's
This
called.
doesn't come close to something like that.
It's either called Comic Book Heroes Unmasked or Comic Books Unmasked.
I think it's Heroes Unmasked, yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, that is great. So yeah, honestly, for me,
I mean, that's where I first heard about Watchmen, for God's sake.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. So for me though, I was really into it for like the casting for the recreations. I thought was star studded with some comic book talent. I mean, for me, is like I never would have imagined this because I saw the pilot for this because again because of the network because Quibi folded like I was only able to see the pilot of it like at a convention somewhere during like when they did the digital convention during the pandemic. Ray Wise as the older Jack Kirby, I thought was just perfect, and like
yeah,
Marina
the cast seems good, yeah, for sure.
Like yeah, that's himself. Marina Baccarin is Jeanette Kahn. Honestly, it kind of fed it kind of scratched the itch of like what would it look like to get the biopic kind of adaptations that we've always speculated and dreamed of and never gotten. So it was like a taste of that. It wasn't the full. You're right. It wasn't the full enchilada. It was like a taste of it. And it was kind of satisfying in that regard, as much as you can get. Like I like that it was jam packed in telling these stories. And I like that some of the stories were the lesser known things. And I got to be honest, once I got to the end of it, I realized like the structure they were going for, and I really liked it. And that there's like a cause and effect of the industry. And I'm going to go back to read the book and see how the book stacks up to this because that's why I was waiting on reading the book for so long. And, the whole thing being it's like the cause and effect of the industry and when they were butting heads and how they kind of influence each other. But each episode is like a different decade in that rivalry. And it kind of starts with Stanley as the little intern. It ends with, of course, Stanley as the icon and how his relationship with DC Comics in the end. So I thought all of that was really.
I honestly thought the most interesting part was the the part where they were trying to get the crossover going with Superman and Spider-Man.
Yes, man, I had that.
And Stan Lee was kind of had an ego about it.
Yeah, and him and kind of like spitballing with Carmine Infantino and everything. Yeah.
That guy, I did not know that the new South Park season was starting tomorrow. I'll definitely have to check that out. Honestly, I haven't watched the last few South Park seasons. I thought the one with the internet trolls was just really, really bad and kind of killed the whole show for me. But of course, the pandemic specials have been awesome. So I'm very much interested to see what Matt and Trey do post that. So, anyways,
but again,
okay.
Just yeah. One last thing. It's again just in closing here. I don't know. The flow really got me where it's like you have Superman versus Spider-Man. Then that leads to okay. So we've kind of put these two characters. We set up these two characters. Then we have death with killing Robin. Then death of Superman. Then how is Marvel going to ape the death of Superman? Clones with Spider-Man. So it then again becomes Spider-Man versus Superman. So I think it really picks up a good flow towards like that point onward. But anyway, Slugfest. It was fun.
All right, we need to talk about Bill Cosby.
Did I write? Ah, darn it. I meant to edit that. It's Cosby. We need to talk about Cosby.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's on me. That's all
Yeah,
right. So,
this is really good. It's just kind of awkward to talk about, as the title suggests.
Tiki, I was so blown away by this, man.
Were you?
Netflix.
Okay, I'm glad you liked it. Glad
I
you liked it. I mean,
yeah.
I liked it a lot. I wouldn't say blown away, but I certainly, I certainly got my money's worth out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like thinking to myself, Netflix, take notes. This is how you do it. I just love that. We have Kumail Bell, who was like a big Cosby fan. I like how we kind of hit on like the comedians who were molded by the man, and now is like the fact that I love that Bell here. He had the chutzpah to say like, hey, no one's doing like an honest conversation about Cosby. And we should talk about like why it's so complicated. I just love the boldness of this thing, man. The fact that we've
That's a
seen
great opening, Dragon.
that's what I'm saying. I love the
The
structure.
opening is literally just all of his documentary, all of his interview subjects reacting to the question, what do how do you define Bill Cosby today?
It's like for me, Tiki, this, I'm not saying it's on the same level per se. It's not the same thing. I mean, one of the most lauded documentaries I go to with something like this be OJ Made in America.
Uh-huh.
But this is like the smaller, appropriately smaller scale and more intimate version of that. It's more intimate, which makes it feel kind of when all the bad stuff creeps in, it makes it all the more like enthralling. It's like you feel the trust in the room with Kumail as he's respected by the interviewees. I love that they're talking to him during the interview. They're talking to him like, Kumail, like, how do you feel about it? And that sort of stuff.
That's actually a really good subtle touch that this thing does that I really liked. Yeah.
So you feel the comfort and like the relationships with these interview subjects. Like they feel like characters to a degree when they're again just they're interview subjects and it's like a genuine, again, it just feels like a genuine conversation about a difficult subject, which so rarely do you have. I mean, to me, there's shades of kind of like what we loved with Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy. And that is a difficult subject. We gotta talk about it. Only this is the more end all be all of that story. This is the genesis of what gets us to that story to a degree.
If I had one nitpick, Dragon, I honestly think that I don't know if you're gonna agree with this, but I think that it might have been able to just be a long movie.
I don't know. I really like the breakdown of the four because
I know. It's I was kind of struggling with that myself.
I mean, it's not you're not wrong that the material is strong enough that it could have been a film. It could have been. I mean, let me this way. If it were a film, again, it's kind of like the OG thing.
Let me put it this way, Dragon. Okay. There's a series coming up that I absolutely most definitely think should have been a movie instead of a show, but we'll get there.
Okay. But that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like the OJ Made in America thing, where that is essentially could be a long movie that has act breaks, or it's 5 episodes. In this case, it's kind of like the 4-episode structure, and that breaks down the rise of Cosby, the Cosby, the figure, the pillar of the community, then the Cosby Show, and then of course the decline. I don't know. I like those kind of 4 acts, if you will. I don't know. I love that we kind of had this weird thing where we're talking about the positive aspects of Cosby, and I love that we don't just wait. The whole episode is not just like all the positives. Like it's positive, and then there's a turn. It's there,
right,
and then it builds, and it completely flips in the halfway point of like now there's more negative than there is positive to the point where there's no positive left, and we're bringing up observations.
Yeah, you're right. It does have a build to it, sure.
And I love stuff like things you never thought about with the Cosby Show, of like, how things were on the set, which is horrifying. And then the fact that I completely forgot that Dr. Huxtable was an OBGYN.
Yep.
From his basic, I wasn't a Cosby Show guy. I respected, like what the whole gist of the Cosby Show was and what it did. And the charm factor, I never watched it because I was Full House at that time. I had other stuff going on, I had other shows, and this laid the groundwork. Like this is like
I definitely like the Cosby Show was never my favorite thing on Nick at Night, but I definitely do have a lot of memories of it on Nick at Night for sure.
Because it was like the Nick at Night show, right?
Oh, it was. Yeah, I remember when it wasn't on the original launch of Nick at Night, but when Nick at Night got it. Oh man, Dragon. It was like it was basically like Nick at Night's equivalent to SpongeBob for a while, if I remember correctly.
Essentially, yes, and that's what I'm saying. You have like this is like the again, it was the precursor to your Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which also becomes the next big heavy hitter in Nick at Night.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's just fascinating. And here's the movie. The thing just gets even more impressive to me, where it's like the loss of his son, which I heard about that. I completely forgot. We're recontextualizing things in such an interesting way, and how that leads to him becoming the political pariah. Then Hannibal Buress, the domino that makes it all fall down. It's like, oh my god,
Bill Cosby is like the definition of a rise and fall story. Yeah, absolutely.
And I was just so fascinated by it. I was so enthralled.
Oh man, I could see it making a really good biopic. Actually, come to think of it,
yes. I mean, who the heck would want to play him though? That's the real question.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, off the top of my head, just based on True Detective, I would throw my hat in for Mahershala Ali.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, yeah. I mean, beyond that, I mean, for me, like, I know one thing: if you ever do a Weinstein thing, you gotta get Jeff Garland to play Weinstein.
Well, I don't know if Jeff Garland is gonna want to play Weinstein, Dragon.
I mean, they literally pointed out on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and again,
no, I'm just saying, Jeff Garland's got his own problems right now.
I mean, he's been very transparent about it, though, and it was like no secret. I mean, it was like a whole stand-up thing. I don't think there's really any scandal at all there. Tiki, I think it's like, yeah, I just
look. I don't know this whole situation. All I know is that there was, anyways, whatever.
Anyway, well, okay, regardless. The point being, yeah, Mahershala Ali. That's obviously I'm down for him for anything on principle. But see, I mean, yeah, Cosby off the top of my head, that sounds pretty good. But yeah, I'm just so glad. Tiki, at the end of the day, I'm just so glad this was handled this well, because it could have been easily like a cash-in piece, man. It could have been easily, hey, we're doing something on a controversial figure again. We're like, no. If we're gonna tackle this, we gotta tackle it right. We gotta come correct at this thing. And the fact that it was like not just a slam piece, it was thoughtful and it was perfect. I loved it.
Yeah. Okay, Dragon, I'm sorry, this TV stuff is going on a long time, so can we just kind of yada through Dope Sick? You sang its praises a while ago, and we did a full podcast about it. It's fantastic. It's great. I love how it's got such an ensemble cast and such a widespread time period, and yet I think the best part about it is the framing device, where it's just jumping through like about 20, 30 years of events.
Yeah, from it's I think like 01 to 2021. Day 20
right,
years, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Technically, yeah.
So I think the best part about it, like from a writing level, is how it's able to just like wildly jump between timelines and still both make sense and be narratively satisfying. And it's so horrific in some spots with like just how bad the epidemic gets, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is like a zombie movie practically. It's infecting everyone. Jesus.
Yeah, and I tell you that scene in the hospital where he comes out of that surgery and he needs that. They show that pain chart. Just oh god, the build, the realization is brilliant. Love it.
And anyone who's ever been in a hospital for pain in the last 30 years knows that pain chart. So
Yep.
All right. That guy says, I don't think Weinstein as a story would make as good of a narrative as Cosby. Totally agree. Agree.
We don't need a Weinstein thing, because they've done pretty decent documentary or so on it. So it's like, I think we get it. But Cosby, that's a rise and fall right there.
Honestly, I think a more interesting biopic on Weinstein would be like doing a Quentin Tarantino biopic where Weinstein's part of the equation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right. Okay, so real quick, in the same
I've actually been listening to a lot of old Tarantino interviews randomly lately.
Yeah, well, they're good. All right, so it's in the same spirit of what you laid out there, the comedy stories. It pretty much is kind of the tit for tat segment of the show here. He watched stuff that I told him about, and I've watched stuff he told me about. So the comedy story pretty much. So this is I'm a big comedy fan. Showtime is really killing it with their documentaries and their docuseries right now.
I feel like they're beating Netflix at their own game at this point, Dragon. They really are.
Put it on bumper sticker. Eat this, Netflix. Like, we're doing it. Showtime's doing it. But yeah, it's Great overview of the comics through the Comedy Store, the stationary location. I had no idea. I feel stupid now. I had no idea that Pauly Shore was Mitzi Shore's son. I really should have put that together. I just never thought of it, and it's like realizing that here. I think that one of the best moments for me in this whole thing was like Burt Kreischer, who I love this guy's comedian. Burt Kreischer forgetting that he was interviewed for the documentary. Someone should really do a documentary on the Comedy Store. It's like, well, dude, you just did an interview for him.
Right.
That's funny. I like that. We had the whole Joe Rogan and not Joey Diaz, but I'm trying to remember like Joe Rogan versus that one comedian that stole from.
Oh, Mencia?
Yes, Carlos Mencia.
Yeah.
The whole Carlos Mencia thing. I love that we kind of we talked about the Andrew Dice Clay of it all. We covered the decades really well. I like how we kind of build to like the modern day comedians in fear of being canceled, which is very relevant. So it was just another solid Showtime docuseries. I'm right now Showtime. I'm now paying a lot more attention to what they're doing on the docuseries front.
I'm paying a lot more attention to Showtime just in general. I think they had a damn good year this year.
You should really look into Ray Donovan since you're now you got Showtime at your disposal, or at least you've been looking into it recently.
Well, I don't know about Ray Donovan. I don't think that's my type of show.
I don't know. It's kind of like he's a fixer, like Mike Ehrmantraut. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Seems a little too episodic for me.
Okay, well, serialized. Okay, fine, whatever. Okay.
Is it serialized? Because when I think of a show about a fixer, I think like, oh, what's he gonna fix this week?
No. There's a story and everything. Yeah.
All right, well, Dragon, I ask you this. Is the story as compelling as Your Honor?
Probably not. Well, I love Your Honor. So yes, you've watched Your Honor.
Yes, I did. So
what did you think of it?
It's great. It's great. I don't think it's quite as, it didn't grab me in the same way that the other Showtime show that I watched this month did. The other narrative that I watched this month, but it's great in its own right. And most importantly, Dragon, I'm going to say this pretty damn definitively. This is easily Bryan Cranston's best role post Breaking Bad.
Easily. I agree.
This is finally a role for him where it's like, okay, this, in some ways it's a little Walter White-esque in that it's a good man who has to do things that, that are not in his nature. But I feel like the fact that he's such a virtuous man is what puts him apart from Walter White, right?
That introduction where
it's a great introduction. Yeah.
Where he just lays out that, that cop's testimony. Just wonderful.
Well, it's a great introduction because it shows that he's a fantastic judge, but he's also fair and he cares about, the morality of what he's doing.
It's just the whole season is the beautiful tragedy. Ultimately, it's just so wonderfully. I love narratively. I'm so in love with that show.
Yeah, and I just love that every episode just kind of it's literally like a House of Cards, Dragon.
Yes. Oh,
it's just it builds every episode is just like a one other layer to the lie, then another layer, then another layer.
Honestly, one of the best pilots and or first chapters of a story, the way that show opens so addictively. It just opens you don't need 3 episodes like Breaking Bad for this one. You got to get that
yeah.
Oh my god, you have to see what happens next to these characters.
And then of course Stromberg is the villain. Come on.
That's what I'm saying. This is the first time I saw him really play a villain. I was like, oh my god, he's so terrifying.
Yeah, like I said, Dragon, I got my introduction to him in Call Me by Your Name, where he basically plays one of the best dads in all of fiction, in my opinion.
I've only seen him as
he goes from one of the best dads to one of the most terrifying dads.
So that's what I'm saying. He's having quite the renaissance playing bad guys between this and the even more exceptional, Richard Sackler in 6. So he's Schroberg's killing it.
2 very different types of roles, though.
Yes, absolutely. It's essentially
this is kind of the more showy sort of it's the kind of villain I would expect in a Breaking Bad, right?
Yeah. And
then him in Dope Sick is more the real life, just he's a villain just based on how chilling his actions are and how soft-spoken he is.
You know what's weird? He plays a mobster in Your Honor, yet he feels like he's playing the Kingpin in the best, like, D'Onofrio-esque Kingpin performance in Dope Sick.
Totally.
Because it's, like, so nuanced and just fascinating, where this one, don't get me wrong, he's great in Your Honor, but it's like, okay, so he's a monster, he's intimidating, but again, it's more so about the circumstances.
Yeah, like I said, Your Honor is a little bit more of a classic kind of TV villain type role, you know?
Exactly. It's more so about the events surrounding that character.
Yeah,
It's like, it turns like he's the hammer that's going to come down, so we know he's scary, but it's more so about like how our other characters are dancing around this guy. This guy is the Grim Reaper, essentially.
Okay, so next up, Dragon, you watched Cowboy Bebop. I assume not the Dope Stick is based on a true story. Yes. Not the Netflix show, right? The original, I hope.
Yes, the original. So they added the anime. So they added the anime once to promote the new live action one.
I have long since been familiar with the anime because it's actually one of the first animes that I watched when Adult Swim started airing anime. So that's how I remember it.
So for me, it was, I've always heard good buzz about Cowboy Bebop, and obviously the live action show was on people's minds. I was like, yeah, okay, well, that's kind of cool. I was like, yeah, I might be interested,
For all
but I'm
the
sure
wrong
it's
reasons.
sure. So I mean, obviously more so like when they were advertising, and then obviously when it happened, it's like, yeah, then did not go well.
Not even when they were advertising it, people were not for
Really?
Dragon. Netflix and live action anime adaptations do not mix.
All right, my point is, I was interested in Cowboy Bebop, and again, Toonami, which has made a comeback in recent years, which I'm very happy about. You know, I've been airing a few episodes of Cowboy Bebop, and that was like the bat crashing through the glass of like, now is the time. It was kind of a dual thing of like, that happened right after I realized, I assumed Cowboy Bebop ran for multiple seasons, but no, it's just one season. I had no idea about that, so I learned that.
That's the beauty of Cowboy Bebop. It's one of the few animes that it's like a get in, get out sort of deal.
Yeah, essentially, it's the Firefly of animes. So I learned that, and then one night while Toonami was on, I saw like a few minutes of, I think, like the introduction of Faye episode. I think it's the third episode, maybe the second. When Faye enters the Faye, he's like, okay, this is kind of selling me. I'm going to give it a shot. And it was it lived up to the hype. It's a bounty hunter show. Of course, Steve Blum is Spike Spiegel, just entertaining. There's this great band of misfits, all of them very interesting.
I just love the style of the show, Dragon. The show has such a mood to it.
And the fact that no episode is really alike when you think about it. Every episode's kind of a different flavor. And like you think, I'm already into this one type of show, and then Edward enters the fray, and just like, okay, there's a very different. Now we've had a different dynamic here.
Edward is such a wild character, man.
Yeah. I'll admit, I think I was feeling a little bit more pre-Edward, but nothing against Edward though. Just it was still cool. It was just different. Spices things up. One could say I love like the whole kind of Western noir sci-fi kind of setting of it all. The animation is top tier. You know, it's a great kind of like pairing. Again, kind of a Firefly sort of setup. You know, ex-Hitman.
Yeah, like you already established. I think the fact that it's kind of like a get in, get out sort of thing just makes it all the more engaging and all the more consumable.
This might not make a whole lot of sense, but clearly the flagship Toonami show, and it just feels like Toonami at its best. You kind of irradiates.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah, for sure.
Like if you want to capture the feeling of the first time you,
I will say, Dragon Ball was the flagship classic Toonami show. This is the flagship Adult Swim Toonami show.
That's the thing. So it just feels like if you want to capture, like for me, I'm capturing that Dragon Ball feeling to some iota. For you, you're literally capturing what you felt there with it. It was like, it's just, you feel like it's radiating it's radiating Toonami at its best. Yeah.
Okie dokie. Okay, so next up, Yellow Jackets. Jesus Christ, this show caught me.
Yeah, so I understand there's like a plane crash, right?
This show is basically a better Lost Dragon. I don't think.
Right? That's essentially the vibe I got from when you mentioned it. It's like, it's Lost.
Yeah, it's like it's got a lot of components to it. The elevator pitch of it is that it's a high school girls soccer team. The plane crashes in the middle of the Canadian wilderness. And then also concurrently you have these flash forwards that are happening 25 years later. And there's like maybe 4 or 5 of the surviving people who got out of the crash alive that we know about, including Christina Ricci, who is absolutely fantastic. She's definitely the selling point of the show for me. But Dragon, this show just has such a great mystery and kind of brutality to it. It's easily one of the best pieces of media I've seen that really kind of like takes advantage of kind of the Lord of the Flies sort of concept of, people stuck in the woods or stuck in a terrible situation. I love the fact that the cold open of the whole show is basically like, oh my god, like what the fuck happened? Like, how did it get this bad? It's like you're literally seeing cannibalism. And not only cannibalism, but you're seeing like a whole, like, there's like kind of like this crazy sort of cult tribal thing going on. And you're just so intrigued about like, how did it go from this girls' soccer team, where it's like they're all at least friendly towards each other, to like literal like tribal warfare. And it's such a great hook. And the stuff in the present day, the flash forward stuff, it's intriguing. It's definitely not as engaging as the stuff in the past, just because I think the stuff in the past is really just like every episode is like just another piece of the puzzle of like how it got to the point where they're literally eating each other. But man, I mean, I just think this episode, it's got a great ensemble cast. Like I said, Christina Ricci, just a wonderful, wonderful comeback role for her. Her character is just equal parts chilling and kind of hilarious at the same time. She's got some Nurse Ratched energy, but she's also just kind of got some like, awkward geeky girl energy to her at the same time. So it's I don't know, man. It's just a great vibe. The one thing I will say is that I do think there's an element of supernatural that kind of comes into it where I'm not. We'll have to see where it goes. There's obviously a lot of room for a second season and beyond, and I'm not quite sure if I'm loving the supernatural side of it yet, because when I see supernatural on a show that involves a plane crash, I'm like, oh, don't fuck up like Lost fucked up, But I will say, as it stands now, Dragon, season 1 of Yellow Jackets might be one of the most consistently compelling seasons of TV I've seen in a while. Just based on that initial tease of the premise and just how bad it's going to get versus the payoff at the end. I don't want to spoil what happens at the end of the season, but it's definitely like okay, yeah, like things aren't quite to the point that we saw in the premiere yet, but the building blocks have definitely been set up, and I can absolutely see how we got to that point. And now we get to watch a whole show of things getting to that point. So, yeah, very, very compelling. I certainly don't think it's your type of show for a variety of reasons. The cult stuff, the violence, it's definitely not for the faint of heart, but I really loved it. It is a little soapy in some spots, especially in the flash forward stuff. Like I said, the flash forward stuff really is not as compelling as the flashback stuff, but I think the flashback stuff is so compelling that it just makes the entire season worth it for me. So I'd give Yellow Jackets a pretty high recommendation.
Okay.
Also, I love the fact that there's Yellow Jackets, but then there's also Yellowstone, which is getting a ton of hype, and it's like both shows are kind of like really trending right now.
I've heard really good things about Yellowstone, honestly.
I have too, and apparently Josh Holloway's in it, who's a big Lost alum. So, what do you know? Small world. Anyways.
Right.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, let's see. Crime Scene, The Times Square Killer.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, Dragon, I'm just kind of like, I'm over the Netflix true crime thing.
I mean, look, this one. So remember, I was gonna watch this. I
got kind of excited when it came out. Yeah.
Yes, I was gonna add this to the thing, but we had too many movies last month, which clearly is not the case this month. So
yeah.
So I mean, honestly, this is solid, not amazing. Joe Berlinger, who's basically he did the true crime stuff, mainly the Ted Bundy tapes, which was good, and then he's kind of honestly, I'm going to call Joe Berlinger out right now. Resting on his laurels lately. Resting on his laurels. Now, this wasn't bad, but the last thing he did was much better. He did the Sicily Hotel thing, which was good. So that, this is not nearly as good as that. Here's the thing, though. The strength of this, the thing that gives us a flicker compared to where the other stuff has just not been cutting the mustard lately, as you and I have kind of learned both the hard way. The strength of it's 3 episodes. It's kind of the history. It's really centered around the history of.
Again, at that point, why isn't it just a movie?
I don't disagree.
I'm just saying that's a trend that I don't like. Anyways, whatever. Go ahead.
Anyway, I like that this really kind of centers around the history and the decline of Times Square in New York in the 70s and how it's transformed, which is always an interesting topic. I'm just like,
now, is it interesting in the same way that the Cecil Hotel documentary is in that regard?
I mean, it's kind of cut from the same cloth. Like,
okay,
I'm not going to say it's better than that.
I will say that does spark my interest because Times Square as a location definitely is. Yeah.
I'm saying if you had a slow day, Tiki, absolutely. If you had a slow day and you had like kind of a true crime itch, I mean, this would be the way. It has a really interesting killer at play here. So this is the torso killer. So the torso killer is in the 70s. You had a killer who essentially at crime scenes. This is like pre-DNA, really, in crime scenes. At least when DNA was in vogue. Basically like the cutting away, basically just leaving a torso behind of women. Mm-hmm. The hands, the heads, gone.
That's funny because a torso is actually a major plot point in Yellow Jackets.
Really?
Yeah.
God. So I don't know. Again, it's 3 episodes. It's mainly about kind of it's mainly about Times Square period and just kind of like how women kind of the streetwalkers of Times Square were suffering. So it's a little bit. Imagine take Times Square in the 70s and mix it with a little bit of Jack the Ripper. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting in that regards. I'd say Netflix is kind of on the crime men with something like this, but I don't want to count the chickens before they hatch. Namely, for the next thing I'm going to talk about.
Oh boy, okay, all right. But here's a Netflix thing that was actually really freaking solid. Archive 81.
Yeah, I was interested. What the heck is this, man? Tell me.
Okay, so man. The one thing that I'm disappointed in with this show is that it is not nearly as much found footage as I would like. But essentially, the premise of this thing is that the main character is his job is essentially restoring old footage, right? Like restoring damaged footage, like damaged film and stuff like that.
He's an archivalist of sorts. Yeah.
Right. And so he gets a job where he's restoring all these tapes, these videotapes of a woman who shot these tapes with a camcorder where she moved into this apartment complex. And she's a documentarian and she's interviewing all these people in this apartment about this, basically, Dragon, long story short, there's a bunch of cult stuff that starts to go on and the footage just gets more and more intense. I really like this a lot. I just wish that it would have stuck to its guns more on the found footage side of things, because essentially the framing device is that our main character is sitting at his editing bay and he's watching the found footage on the camcorder, but then the found footage will then cut to just a regularly shot scene that's like the flashback. You know what I mean? So it'll kind of like jump between the 2 time periods and you're just watching it as a regular scene. And I really wish that they would have just committed to having that entire storyline be found footage. Because I got to tell you, when it jumps between the 2 storylines, there's a lot of screen time for the past stuff. And it almost kind of gets to the point where it does sound like a Dexter killer, that guy. He's referring to the Times Square killer. It does sound like a Dexter killer.
Yeah.
But Dragon, when you're, it's like, it almost gets to the point where it's like you're watching the stuff in the past unfold and it's going on for like almost half the episode. And then you cut back to the main character and you're like, oh, right. The main character is watching this footage. And I don't know. It's like a directorial thing where I just really wish we would have gone the full Monty with the found footage side of things. Just had that whole storyline be found footage. But I digress. It's still a really, really compelling, interesting mystery. The stuff with the apartment and the cult and everything. It's one of those things where each episode, it kind of like unveils a little bit more of the mystery and is very intriguing. I will say, Dragon, I would recommend this to you just because, it is a cult, but I think the way that it plays out, the framing device of it is very interesting. And like it's billed as horror, but I don't necessarily think it's really horror. It's more of a psychological thriller than anything else. But it is produced, not directed by, but produced by James Wan. And it very much does have the feeling of a James Wan project, which I appreciate a lot. It's it very much feels like if James Wan did a TV show, this is what it would be like. So, and also, the main character's best friend is a true crime podcast host. And I really like that element of it as well. And also the location that this guy is at, editing the tapes, does not have internet and does not have Wi-Fi and has very, very spotty cell service. And that kind of leads its way into the plot, because there's a lot of times where the guy will be like struggling like out in the woods. You'll see him like trying to get a signal on his cell phone and stuff like that. Also, weirdly enough, the Secret of Nim is a very prominent plot device.
Really?
Yeah.
Literally the Secret of Nim.
Yeah, the movie The Secret of Nim, yes.
Does it like parallel?
It shows up throughout the season, Dragon.
Is there like there's a parallel anything that's going on? Or
yes,
like...
it does. Yes.
Okay.
Very much so. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it on the top of your must-watch list or anything, but I'm saying if you're intrigued by it, I would give it a watch. All right. Like I said, I just wish that the found footage formula would have been committed to a little bit more. That's my only thing with it. All right, what's next on your end?
This one's going to go by fast.
The
Puppet Master hunting the ultimate
Dragon. I got to admit, I saw that title and I was like, well, that literally sounds like the most generic Netflix true crime thing ever.
Okay, so it's funny you say that. For me, here's the title I thought was the best part, honestly. I thought I don't know. I thought it was like an awesome and interesting title that kind of sold me. Like, oh my god, like a con man story. I don't know. I was really taken in. I was a sap. I was taken in by the title. Here's the thing: decent story, decent sell. This thing was not bad, but it was a letdown for what I felt I was promised by that title.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was like it's an English con man. He infiltrates two families, essentially with two cons, and eventually they intersect. Basically, they reveal the con man for these two disparate stories are the same man. On paper, oh my god, that's amazing. But in practice, after that reveal, it's treading water. Yeah. I mean, it's messed up stuff, so I can't call it bad because the story itself is interesting. I really don't think it was told the best way it could have been. That's what I feel. Mm-hmm. I feel it kind of lost my interest in that. Like the idea is this guy told this woman and her family essentially that he was an MI5 agent. That's how he kind of conned him, and he basically gaslit the family into basically making them go on the run and everything. And I forget if it was the same story or the other story where basically he turned this mother against her children. He basically abandoned her children, and the children, they grew up in terms of inheritance and everything. She fought him tooth and nail because she was convinced by this con man that her son was going after, was just after her for the money or something, which is not true. It's horrible stuff this con man did. The problem is they didn't really spend time on why. Why did he do all this? Which kind of bothers me because we literally spend we've seen characters who are con artists, and we love these con artist characters. It's not like a Better Call Saul or a Jimmy McGill or a Slipping Jimmy, if you will. And I know it's not exactly the same thing. It's the fact that the why it's all about the why, and perhaps you understand where these guys are coming from. It's the fact he's just conning people because.
Sure.
I don't know. I just thought that is very forgettable. All right.
Well, it's not forgettable, Dragon baskets.
Yeah, so I've always been interested in baskets.
Oh, dude, you got to check it out.
So tell me, how is it? Just specifically.
It's fucking wonderful, man.
So Zach Galifianakis plays a clown, right?
He plays twin brothers, one of which is an aspiring clown.
Yeah.
He went to clown college and he went to a very prestigious clown school in Paris, but he flunked out because he went to Paris and didn't bother learning French first, right? And that's literally the opening scene.
Okay, so that's the aspiring.
That's the
clown.
opening scene is him flunking out of this prestigious clown school in Paris because he doesn't understand the language. And then his twin brother is just kind of just a very oh god, I forget exactly what he does, but he's just kind of like a businessman.
Is he like a yuppie? Is he like about climbing the corporate ladder? Is he just
kind of, yeah.
So Zach Galifianakis is playing both roles.
Right,
And
exactly.
if I recall, I'm assuming the main reason you check this out is their mother is played by a familiar face.
Yes, their mother was played by Louis Anderson,
which, from what I understand, got him legit, kind of critical attention. And people loved Louis Anderson as this character's mother.
He's really good. It's weird casting, but he's really good.
Like, is there like some genuine pathos in,
absolutely,
what's going on?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I understand it's hilarious. I mean, there's like I want to say, and I don't know, and I haven't watched like the whole Life of Louis thing intimately. I don't really know much about Louis Anderson personally. Is that I understand he had a mother. He had a lot of issues with his mother. So it would sound to me that this character would be an excuse for him to channel all of that.
That's very much what it feels like. Absolutely, yeah.
Right? Okay. Anything else in the first season? Like, you might want.
I don't want to give away too much of the plot, Dragon. So I'm just gonna say it's it's got a really fantastic tone to it. It's mostly a comedy, but there's some incredibly poignant stuff in it. You really feel for this guy. It's like it really is kind of like the sad clown archetype come to life. You know what I mean?
I see. And you watch this on Hulu, correct? Because of an FX show.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's got 4 seasons, so I'm definitely gonna have to check out on the on the rest of them for sure.
Do you know if it was like, is there an end? Well, I know you haven't finished it, but I mean, do you recall it like being canceled, or is it?
I'm pretty sure season 4 was the last, and it's in 2019, so you're not gonna have to worry about the Louis Anderson thing if that's what you're hinting at.
Right. Well, I mean, I was kind of hinting that just in general, though. I wonder if it wrapped up or not.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, on Wiki it said the 4th season was its final one. So yeah,
I assume one thing is I think there's a built-in ending with this whole sad clown story.
Right.
All right. So we go from baskets to here's a show I really wish you.
I watched the first episode of it. I need to finish the rest. I'm in progress. I just got busy, Dragon, but I really like what I've seen so far.
Yes. So Only Murderers. Sorry, I keep thinking it sounds like season 2 might actually be called Only Murderers in the Building, and there's kind of a gag. Right? So I've always misread it. I always kept calling it that. So it's Only Murders in the Building. So. Yeah, here's the thing. I started this because it premiered with 3 episodes. So I watched the 3 episodes, and then it just kind of got away from me. So I got back to it, and yeah, it paid off so nicely. It's got a great premise, as you know. It's Steve Martin Short, and Selena Gomez is kind of these kind of neighbors in essentially a far more nicer and upscale version of the Cecily Hotel. Basically it's like the Arconian, I believe it's called. Nice building. Nice set. I like the stationary location of it all too. In fact, it's a nice building, and just the ex-actor, the disgraced theater producer, and basically the suspect, the very suspicious kind of girl bringing the youth dynamic to the group. It's the idea that the true crime buffs who start a podcast on a murder in the building and they investigate. For me, it really picks up at a certain point, and I was a little worried for it because after the 3rd episode, that's when we start looking at other suspects. And essentially, the way it's laid out is each episode is a different suspect and or like a different stage of the investigation. Essentially, it's a different suspect each episode, ultimately. And I thought the structure got really good. Episode 7 was the one. I don't know if I told you 6 before. 7 is the big impressive episode. So episode 6 onward, though, is like that's where the real traction picks up for me. That's where things get really exceptional. It's like, yes, 7 is a wonderfully impressive episode, and then there's things, the plot twists and turns keep coming, and it gets really good and very true crime podcasty in the best of ways. And yeah, I just love that these are like 3 broken people who kind of found each other and they're kind of repairing themselves through kind of like a thing we all relate to. We all love a good podcast, especially a true crime podcast, and how in vogue it's become. And there's definitely there's room for season 2, folks. There's a big season 2 cliffhanger that definitely wants you to come back for more, which I did not see coming. I thought, well, I assume they're going to get to the bottom of the murder. Otherwise, the true crime podcast was not that successful. But like most true crime podcasts, there's going to be a little wiggle room to come back.
All right. Well, I watched Hype House. Yeah.
So you sound a little unhyped for that, buddy. Care to elaborate?
Dragon, literally the only reason I watched this at all was because some of my favorite YouTube commentary channels were doing videos about it. And I was like, oh man, this sounds really bad. I have to see it for myself. And it is really, really bad. I mean, it's bad in a funny kind of way. It's Dragon, this is like the most shallow reality TV show. This is like the bottom of the barrel reality TV. I mean, it's like I can't even fathom. I don't even want to go into detail about it, Greg. It doesn't even deserve going into detail about it.
I'm going to guess this is not the show you thought could have been a movie.
No, God, no.
We haven't passed that yet, have we?
No, we did not. No.
Okay, good. Yeah, so...
Okay. No, I mean, this was, Dragon, I enjoy making fun of it. And honestly, watching the videos on it kind of made my month a little better. In a month that was kind of shitty for me on a personal level. But yeah, the show itself is not good. I probably honestly should have just stuck to the professionals and let them ramble on it because, I feel like with YouTube, they pretty much just take the funniest stuff anyways. All you need to know about this, Dragon, is that it's a bunch of just spoiled, rotten people in their early 20s doing TikToks. Dragon, they're all living in this like mansion. I can't even fucking comprehend it. They're all living in this mansion, and this mansion, all they have to do for their rent is a sponsorship deal where they all just have to make like 8 TikToks a month on Bang energy drinks. And literally the entire conflict of the whole show is all these fucking people except for the main character who's like kind of like the adult in the room, like being too lazy to do the Bang energy sponsorships. Dragon, that's your premise. That's the conflict.
That sounds awful, Tiki.
It's bad.
Yeah, that sounds just so unappetizing to me. It just really sounds bad. Just really bad.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways.
A bunch of filthy 20-year-old degenerates.
Okay. Pretty much.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the Not Too Late Show. Yeah, so I've been meaning to get to this. I'd seen a few episodes. I had never finished it. I always had it in my back pocket, and I kind of wanted to crack out another show. I'm surprised. I could have sworn you had gotten... Did you start this and not get back to it, too?
I think that's the thing is I probably watched a couple episodes of it and didn't finish the whole season. I was probably in your same camp on it.
Yeah, so there was a season 2, which surprised me. So I watched the first season, just to clarify. So yeah, it's a charming little talk show, man. It's it's not for me. It's
the Elmo talk show.
What?
I don't think you said what it was. The Elmo talk show.
Yeah, the Not Too Late show with Elmo. Yes.
Well,
I'm just saying it's a charming little talk show. So yeah, it's no Earth to Ned, but it's not bad. It's solid. It's solid. I think it's great for kids for starters, but beyond that, I think it's just like I love. Big fan of the late night talk show and just kind of like the Johnny Carson show and everything. So I love just kind of taking that, just kind of taking it to the giving like a Sesame Street skinning of sorts here. Like we have like a lot of great guests. I mean, for me, the big standout, he kind of became a running gag, and I loved it so much because he was on an HBO show, so it made sense for him to be around often. John Oliver. I love me some John. I love it when John Oliver crosses over with Sesame Street characters because he did this thing with Cookie Monster once.
John Oliver. Oh man, he was just born to play Zazu.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
He's pretty good. I mean, in theory, though, he sounds like he'd be a good Zazu, though, right?
That was actually a very, very obscure reference to Your Movie Sucks.
Okay.
Anyway.
But seriously, John Oliver, Love the guy. So when he shows up and he's kind of interacting with
He was a very bad Zazu Dragon. I'm just gonna.
Really? Was he that bad? I'm just saying because I remember
He
when that
was
was
pretty
announced.
bad.
When he was announced, that sounded like it was really on the money, didn't it?
Yeah, he was pretty bad.
Okay.
Dragon, I literally think that Rogan and Billy Eichner were literally the two people that were actually trying in that movie.
Well, I think we can agree, Tiki. Had John Oliver been better as Zazu, it would have completely changed that film, made it like an Oscar-worthy film. I think we can both agree on that.
Fair enough.
Had John Oliver stepped up his game, much as I love the man, had he stepped
Drake,
up
it was
his
really
game,
James Earl Jones that was shockingly bad in that movie.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think anything would have saved that, Tiki. I think it's kind of like a dead on arrival sort of thing.
Yes. Anyways.
Okay, but my point, anyway.
Oh God, I'm just like rattling off your movie sucks quotes at this point. We have to move on.
Okay. Anyway, point being, I really like the episodes are brief. They're like 15 minutes a pop, roughly. It's got a solid, simple structure. It's sorry, again, they have fun guests and like the fun little games and everything. And if you like talk shows and the tradition of them, I think especially if you have kids, I think this is really up your alley. And in general, if you like Sesame Street, this is good. We have some fun appearances of beloved characters. Grover delivers as always. Grover was really on point during this whole season. I gotta be honest, like Grover just killed it every time he showed up. All right, yay Grover. Okay.
All right, so this is the one that I absolutely, this would have worked so well as a standalone movie. It would have worked so well as a standalone movie. The woman in the house across the street from the girl in the window.
I think you left off some part of that title.
Did I really?
No, I'm kidding, Tiki. It's just a long title. Go on.
I love the title, though. I fucking love that. And what's ironic about it is that title actually does perfectly sum up what the show is about. The show is indeed about a woman who is in a house and she is looking at the girl who is in the window. And Dragon, you know what kind of movie this is parodying, right? Like the girl on the train, woman in the window, that kind of schlock.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So tell me, is this like purely a parody of that with Kristen Bell?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's why I think this would have worked so much better as a standalone movie. As a standalone movie, Dragon, I honestly think this has the potential to be like one of the great spoof movies. Because I think it's such a clever concept, a great title. Kristen Bell is a perfect casting choice here. And the problem is that it just gets dragged out, and they even bait for season 2. And Dragon, I'm getting a little bit sick of I don't know. I really feel like we are losing the art of good, high concept, mid-budget filmmaking. It's like every time there's a concept that's good, it's always like, oh, well, let's make a show out of it. And man, I don't know. So it's like, this is basically just it's through and through just a completely tongue-in-cheek from top to bottom parody of, those women on the train, lady in the window, whatever the fuck, the whole subgenre. I think it's a weirdly specific subgenre, and I think it would make for I don't know, it's just frustrating, Dragon. Like the first episode is so on point, it's so funny. I feel like every gag really lands. Like I said, Kristen Bell is absolutely the reason to check this out. I know you're a fan of her, so I would definitely give it a watch just for her alone. It's just by the end of the 10 episodes, you just feel like literally every joke that this thing has at its disposal has been repeated like 3 or 4 times. And like I said, they even try and bait you like, oh, cliffhanger season 2. And God, if any show does not need a season 2, it's this one. And it shouldn't have been a show to begin with. I mean, I don't know, Dragon. It's frustrating. Very, very, very rarely do we have good spoof movies, right? Yeah, like the last one I can think of is Pop Star, which I legitimately think is fucking wonderful. But and totally underrated as far as I'm concerned. But this would have been up there. It could have been a contender, Dragon.
Oh God, that's awful.
I don't know. again, it's a wonderful premise for a movie, and then they stretch it out to it like it's a parody of movies. Why would
Well,
you make that a TV show?
well, that's the thing. So it sounds to me like what happened there. Mind you, I haven't seen it. It sounds like you have like an extended version of the Angie Tribeca problem. Only basically, it's with Angie Tribeca, it's all at once when the realization hits you. In your case, it's like it's an Angie Tribeca kind of premise. Only the fact that we're stretching it out so long. It's
Yeah,
just
I mean, going into it, Dragon, like I loved the premise, I loved the title, but I was worried about it being a show instead of a movie, and I was pretty much right.
Well, I bring up the Angie Tribeca thing because that was them trying like the classic spoof movie as a series, and the problem is it. I think serializing it was a problem, and it basically
Uh
you need it
huh.
as a film,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Only Angie Tribeca was kind of you kind of saw like it just wasn't as good in episode one, and they just kind of kept going, and then it did all the stuff you mentioned,
I
like
want
with
to
like
emphasize
season
though, this is
two.
quality. Like I said, Kristen Bell is great. I'm sure it's not as bad as that.
No, I believe you, Tiki. I'm just saying it's
It
kind
just
of
feels
like
like a missed opportunity.
sure. Did you ever see The Good Place?
No.
I know I keep asking. I just wanted to check in. All right. I mean,
I
if you
don't
liked it,
intend on watching it anytime soon, if I'm being honest.
really,
It's, to be honest with you, it's kind of a little overexposed right now.
huh?
And I'm kind of like, I don't know.
Okay.
But
All right. Well, we've reached the end of the clicker.
all right, Dragon, I think we need to make it a point where it's like we're literally 2 hours into this thing at this point, and I know we had a lot of news and TV, but like, I don't know. I think we should kind of like going forward, maybe we should reshuffle and do the new movies before TV because we lost a lot of momentum in the comments here.
Well, I think
So
definitely in the case of months like this, maybe that would be that would be the
yeah,
way
I'm
to
just
go.
saying. I'm just saying.
Right.
So yeah, okay. So Jesus Christ, you ready for something that's gonna go by quick? All right, Hotel Transylvania 4 Transformania. It's done. Thank God this series is over. All I can say about this movie, Dragon, is that it's not as bad as the Ice Age movie. Um, it's honestly not terrible. It feels very, very safe. It feels like okay, like you know what? If I'm being completely honest with you, I would say this is like maybe a little bit of a step up from the third movie, just because the third movie's like, what are you doing on a cruise ship? Come on, this is not Hotel
At least
Transylvania.
the third movie had an ending though. He found somebody. That's all you need.
Yeah, but I'm just saying this at least feels more like the franchise, you know. Um, I I think some of the animation is okay. I think that just as a silly cartoon, there's definitely some good slapstick in here and some good character animation. That's about it. I mean, the recastings are horrible. You don't want to hear someone that's not Adam Sandler do Drac. No one wants to hear that. It's okay. I mean, it's not a terrible animated movie, and we'll get to a terrible animated movie soon enough.
Speaking of, oh boy, speaking of brief. Okay, so the Tender Bar. So
I also want to point out this was in my theaters in December, so I know we're desperate, but this technically isn't a January movie.
yeah, you're just trying to suck all the whimsy out of the room right now. I just want
I
you to
know
do
it came.
that.
I know it came on Prime in January. I just want to point that out.
Anyway, so this is a nice film. In all honesty, I mean, I think out of our three, it sounds like it might be the best of the three, but I don't know if that's saying much. So that's what's
Dragon,
good
do you
about
think it's better than Hotel Transylvania 4? Yes, it's probably the best of the three.
Say this is a nice film. It was directed by George Clooney, believe it or not. Yeah, it adapts a memoir. So there's a basically it's based on a true story. It was a memoir, I guess, in the transit property, true story. Basically, it's New York in the '70s. You got this kid dealing with his mother going through a divorce with the father who's like a radio jockey. The point being, kid moves in with his grandparents. And they has like it's like the whole family. The idea is the family, they're all kind of bunking with the grandparents, and we introduce the uncle, who is played by a very charismatic, very wonderful Ben Affleck. He's playing Uncle Charlie, and his whole shtick is that he is a bartender who runs the family business, which is the Dickens Bar. It is a bar that is themed to books, made in the Charles Dickens books. But yeah. Regardless, anyway, so Affleck is wonderful in this film. I want to make that he's the best part of this movie. He's truly he's just charismatic as all get out. He nurtures his nephew's creative, kind of creative and literary interest, with the whole book theme and everything. Basically, his mother wants him to become a lawyer. He wants to become a writer. Christopher Lloyd plays the grandfather in this, and it is like a delightful moment where he has to take the kid to the father-son breakfast because the kid essentially doesn't have a father because he's kind of a dirtbag.
I don't have a dad.
Pretty much. Look, Tiki, it's not a complicated film at all, but it's pleasant. It really is truly pleasant. The whole, the kid's name is JR because he's a junior, but he doesn't really know his father at all, so he doesn't even know what junior stands for, and they don't like talking about the father. So it's like literally the kid kind of searching for his own identity. So it's interesting, and it's based on, I believe, I think it's like a beloved book, like it's been mentioned that it's for a long time people mentioned it was, I don't know. I enjoyed it. Bear in mind, it was not really a competitive month, but I enjoyed it.
No, God, it was not.
So, right. I think we're all wondering, Ice Age.
I was absolutely flabbergasted by just how bad this movie is, Dragon.
Yes, you'll notice.
I mean, this is like holy shit. Like, I've never been a fan of the Ice Age movies, not even... The first one is like, okay. This is another level of bad. This is like a Norm of the North drag. It really is. That's exactly what it feels like. I mean, I don't even know where to start with this thing. It's like Sid, Diego, and Manny are barely in it, but Buck Wild isn't even the fucking main character.
Wait, what?
He's not.
Well, this poster lied to me.
The two possums are the main character.
Oh, no.
Yes! It's their movie!
Oh.
Buck Wild doesn't even show up until, like, the second act.
That is not good.
And then at the end, the whole premise of the movie is that everyone hates them, rightfully so. So they're like, oh, we're going to go on our own adventure, or what the fuck ever, and prove that we're worthy. And then at the end, Dragon, at the end, they try and pull a Toy Story 4. They try and have some big heart-tugging moment where these two shit characters go off on their own, and we as an audience are supposed to be like, oh my God, they've grown with this group, and they're not going to be a part of the group anymore. Who fucking cares? The group is barely even in the goddamn movie. This is so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
You'll notice why I did not watch it, because I could smell the bad on this.
Dragon, I at least thought that this would be a little bit better than Hotel Transylvania.
Nope.
Because, like, on the surface level, I actually like the Ice Age movies a little bit more than the Hotel Transylvania movies. But, oh my God.
I stopped liking the Ice Age movies after the third one.
I mean, the Hotel Transylvania, like, that's not great, but at least... At the very least, it feels like a movie. This feels like a pilot because it literally was. This is literally one of those situations where it was going to be a Disney Plus show, and they just slapped it onto Disney Plus. It made it a movie, and I don't know.
This is all bad news, Tiki. None of what you said is good in the least about this film.
The animation is terrible. Whatever. Let's just move on.
Okay, on to some good stuff. Okay, the catch-up.
Yes.
Are you ready for a mystery movie?
Oh, I'm ready for 3 mystery movies.
Yeah! Let's energize this crap month.
All right.
Okay. The Real Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, okay. I think you saw it before I did.
Well, no, you. No, here's the thing. You told me about it, and I kept meaning to watch it, but I never got to it.
Yeah, and I never got to it either.
Oh, real? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Okay, but
Well,
regardless, tell me.
regardless, I'll tell you about it anyway. So, very solid doc. I love how it basically what they do here is they kind of tie it to the theme of basically Chaplin and his impact, and it's like the idea of like the real Charlie Chaplin being, the idea Charlie Chaplin has inspired many people over the years, obviously in the silent film era, but also it really builds. I think, as you kind of hinted at to me, which again I watched this. I guess you watched a really in-depth trailer or something. I don't know. Um, the dictator of it all, the film that he did, it basically, was making fun of Hitler. And, the idea is there's this heady thing the movie gets to is that Charles Chaplin was born 4 days after Hitler, and their careers paralleled each other, and they kind of met essentially, literally in that film at that point. So it's really fascinating how they kind of lay that out. Hence the reason it's called The Real Charlie Chaplin. So, I
Uh,
mean, beyond that thread is really interesting. But honestly, this movie it's Chaplin 101, does not replace the Chaplin biopic with Robert Downey Jr. in my heart by any iota. But it's like, if you never saw the Chaplin biopic, this is probably the one that no one's going to whine about and saying, "Well, that didn't happen." Well, it's called artistic license, you Philistine.
oh God.
I'm so tired of people. Chaplin was an excellent film, and Downey Jr. should have gotten the Oscar for that film. But anyway, the point being, yeah, so essentially it's kind of the same deal, just probably a hair more on the money. But
Uh,
again, not as entertaining in my opinion. It's good though. I mean, it's a solid doc. It just tells you everything you are. If you've seen the Chaplin movie, it's pretty much the same stuff, only now with a little more focus ultimately to the whole dictator situation of it all, which was good. And again, um, Showtime's stepping up with the documentary game big time. So whether it be the docuseries or this, they're stepping up. I don't think they're fully there yet with the documentary film, but they're getting there. And if they've done so well with docuseries, I think it's a matter of time.
sure.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, The Last Duel.
Yes,
All
I'm
right.
debating whether to watch this or not. How is it?
Yeah, I would check it out for sure. I think easily the best part about it is the performances. Matt Damon, Adam Driver, like they kind of leap off the screen. They're both big movie stars and they have big showy performances here. Really interesting framing device, how you see the event from three different perspectives. I think that's really cool. That being said, I do think that this kind of had like, I don't know, Dragon. It's a very heavy subject, and I understand. Like Ridley Scott actually went on a big tirade when this movie bombed about how it's the death of cinema and whatever. But it's like, I don't know, man. It's a heavy fucking topic, and I
The
can
trailer,
understand why. I can understand why people didn't want to like go out and watch a movie about this, because it's like there is a very explicit sexual assault that happens three different times in this film, Dragon. I mean,
really.
it's not for the faint of heart in that regard. It's a very well-made movie, and I absolutely think it's probably one of Ridley Scott's best movies in a while. I mean, but that's coming from someone where Ridley Scott's literally somewhere. It's like, I don't like, for me, it's like there's not even a definitive Ridley Scott movie besides, I guess, Alien, but that kind of feels like cheating almost. Where it's like, oh yeah, that's the one. I mean, I've always kind of been at arm's length with him, like in his style. He's never really grabbed me. Even a super popular movie of his, like The Martian, I'm like, all right, yeah, science the shit out of this
Remind
bitch.
me, did you see House of Gucci?
I did not see House of Gucci.
I don't think you're missing much just for my arm's length.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
But honestly, I gotta tell you, Ridley Scott's been kind of his recent stuff's been turning me off a little bit, because I saw the trailer for this, and again, I haven't seen this movie obviously, but when I saw the trailer for this, that's the reason I didn't see the movie, because this looks like a medieval Me Too movie. I don't know how really exciting
I
that
mean,
is.
you're not exactly wrong with that.
I'm not saying it's not more interesting than that. I'm just saying that that's what the trailer really is. Is like, it's like a he said, she said, but it's medieval. It's like,
It
really,
is a he said, she said for sure. That's literally the whole point of the movie is showing the different perspectives. Yeah.
Also, I think it's a really pretentious title. I'm just going to say that. This is like The Last Duel. Really? This is the last duel ever. Come on, really? The last duel? I don't know, it's a very pretentious title.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's like the filmmaking is pretty on point, and I thought the framing device was interesting, but it was still, I don't know, it still wasn't a big selling point for me.
Okay. All right. Mystery movie number 2.
All right.
Ron's Gone Wrong.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yes, so much better than it has any right to be.
Right?
Yes.
Like, it's no Mitchells versus the Machines, but I think it's a pretty good, like, compliment to that movie.
Yeah, it was, in the end, and I did not know this watching the film, in the end, I don't know if you mentioned, I don't think you mentioned it all, honestly. I don't know, I assume you know about this, but in the end, given the director, it makes sense why this was so good. Sarah Smith directed this. Sarah Smith, she directed Arthur Christmas.
Oh yeah, I did forget to mention that. You're right. Yeah,
and also I believe the co-director was a Pixar, an Aardman alumni. It was John Felipe Vine.
I mean, that's the thing. This feels like an Aardman movie.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's, Locksmith Animation. I don't know if they might have broke their maiden with this movie. I'm not sure. Locksmith Animation, they basically, I think, is their first feature. So it was a division of Blue Sky. So when obviously Blue Sky was absorbed into things, that's why Disney kind of had it through Fox and everything. So it's so weird. I could have watched this on Disney Plus or HBO Max, and I have no idea how that works.
Right.
It's weird. Anyway, so so the marketing for me, the reason I did not see this last year was, or when it was very easily available to me on any of those streaming services last year, was the marketing was just so unappetizing and bland to me. It just seems like the most forgettable. The trailer did not do this movie any favors. It just seemed, okay, generic comedy, and there's Zach Galifianakis in kind of an ugly design. I don't really care about it. So,
yeah.
It's like, oh, he's going to do everything wrong for the movie.
Dragon, tell me, the gadget stuff, that got you, right? I mean, it's such a cool idea for a gadget.
Okay, so the technology was great. I'll admit, I think you might have oversold the gadget thing a smidge, but in regards to the technology, though, it was really cool.
I don't know. I'm just saying that first time where we go to the school and we see all the kids using it, I don't know. I thought it was super cool for me.
It was really cool. I mean, honestly, I love that basically the design, the idea of this thing. It's like a smartphone meets an astromech with a Tamagotchi shell.
Right, yeah.
But honestly, here's what really elevated the movie for me beyond just kind of the aesthetic and like the cool gadgetry kind of sell of it all, if you will, is that the grounded setting and just the authenticity really, really threw me in the best of ways. Where it's like, Barney, for example, all the little details, like Barney is like comes essentially from a family of immigrants, or at least he's descended from immigrants. With the grandmother, the foreign grandmother, and the fact he's lost a mother, and his father's selling novelty items, which is really weird. And I like that. So I just love the fact that the father couldn't get him what he wanted for his birthday, and he's like collecting rocks because it's something that's kind of affordable and stuff. And I don't know, it's like the performances are really good between Jack Dylan Grazer. He's really making a name for himself right now. He's 3 for 3. You got Shazam, you got Luca, and you got this.
Yeah,
he's doing a good job.
I also feel like Galifianakis is on a bit of a roll too. I mean, granted,
Baskets?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Baskets was, that wasn't like current, but still.
Yeah, I mean, you can go back to like Lego Batman. He was good as the Joker. So, I mean, he's oddly enough another clown. I'm just now, yeah.
Basically anything that isn't The Hangover.
Yeah, pretty much. Also, what was the God? Was it? No, not. Was he in Jobs? Am I thinking of the right movie with him? Wait, no, it was Birdman. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh yes, he wasn't Birdman. Yeah,
right. That's sorry. I was thinking basically the assistant role, and for a second I got like, no, it's Stolberg, you idiot. No,
Birdman is actually kind of a weirdly similar movie to the Steve Jobs movie because it's a bunch of like walking behind the scenes of a performance in ways, you know.
I'm trying to remember. I know Birdman's at least 2 days. I don't remember if it was actually 3 days. Because if it's 3 days, then it's exactly like Jobs. Well, I mean, if you count the hospital, then it's 3 days technically.
Yeah. Anyways.
Okay, anyway, so just the fact that, I'll admit, I do think we kind of tacked on an extra ending, but I like both endings, though, honestly. I think both endings are good, just a little extra. It's a thoughtful kind of, it's thoughtful on, what friendship is and, the harmful effects of social media, which I think we hit those notes really well. How the soulless tech giants played by Rob Delaney just so cruelly and so well. Just, improve life or profit off of it. The movie was impressive. I was impressed.
Alrighty. Okay, so Bad Trip, Dragon. This is one that I've been meaning to get to just because it's essentially a hidden camera prank movie that also has like a loose plot to it. So in a lot of ways, it's I don't know, it's kind of Borat-esque in some ways.
Did you watch this because of Red Letter Media?
Yes, in some ways, yes.
Okay, continue.
Because it was on their, I'm guessing it was on their the 2021 catch-up, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I have a movie that they recommended as well coming up.
Oh, well, there you go. I don't know, Drake. Like, the thing with this is that, like, as a film, it's like this is clearly like not high art at all, right? Like, this is the type of movie where it's like the comic book movies are not art. Film critic and Martin Scorsese would just absolutely just wrinkle his nose at and just, he would think this movie completely stinks, Dragon. It's like, but the thing is, this movie's super entertaining. Just on the level that it's literally just
it's pants fall down comedy.
I know it's Eric Andre. It's Eric Andre and then Lil Ray Howery. I'm sorry. It's those two just setting up these really bizarre, elaborate situations that actually work in the context of the movie's granted very loose and stupid plot. And the comedy just comes from seeing real people's reactions to everything. And that works, man. That totally works for me. I mean, it's kind of like how I'm actually pretty stoked for the new Jackass. Do I think that it's going to be a good movie? God, no, not really. But I'm stoked for it just because I love that kind of humor, It's almost the type of thing where it's like the Jackass movies when you look at them, and even something like the Impractical Jokers movie, they're really not films in the traditional sense. They're pretty much just like, like a little bit more elaborate versions of the type of shit you see on the TV show. But it's still fun, Dragon. I don't know. Like it's a fun time, this movie, it's like it wouldn't be anywhere near like a top 10 list or anything like that, of course. But I enjoyed it for what it is. It really did give me a good laugh.
Okay. All right. Last of the mystery movies for me. Music Box, Woodstock 99, Peace, Love, and Rage.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yes, I know you brought it up, so I was eventually going to get to this anyway, but then Red Letter Media brought up and like, man, that's a glowing recommendation. I might check that out. So,
I think the Kenny G one is slightly better because I put the Kenny G one on my best of the year list, but this is still really good.
So, this movie, here's the thing. It had me, and then it stalled, but then it brought it home again.
Okay.
I think it stalls in the middle. I really do. I'll get into specifically what it is, but I mean, ultimately, this it doesn't quite surpass the Fyre Fest documentary on Netflix.
No, I would agree with that. The Fyre Fest documentaries are iconic.
Yeah. I love the build up to we have like the build up to another Woodstock in the 90s. That's all great and everything. The stall for me is that we're doing that. We're building things up well, which is kind of the big benefit of these sort of like anatomy of a failure documentaries with particular, honestly, just in principle, but especially like the kind of the concert event sort of things. I think it gets a little hung up on the bands and the talent pacing wise. I'm not saying we don't need to cover that, but it just feels like there's like a stretch in the middle. Okay, the disaster of the event, very much everything aside from Limp Bizkit. I don't know if we needed to spend as much time with, because Limp Bizkit was kind of like the big moment, which I
Yeah,
completely forgot
yeah.
about. Like, yeah, Limp Bizkit was really like literally when the turning. But that's I assume that's why Limp Bizkit has the bad reputation that he has. It's like, oh god, he caused this disaster. Maybe that's why Limp Bizkit's
It's
become a
definitely
punch
part
drunk.
of it. Yeah.
That's why he's
And then
become
the
like.
weird thing is that this documentary came out like maybe a month before the Astroworld thing happened,
Hmm.
which very, very much mirrored a lot of the shit that went down here.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's honestly just about the savagery of people being inconsiderate with each other and just
Yeah.
becoming literal animals, like they're literally rolling around.
What do you okay? What do you think of to me the big thing that was like, oh my god, that's like so horrific. It's even worse than the Firefest conditions. Is the story of the guy who like found like the one pizza box that didn't have urine stains on it?
Ugh, yes, not
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
I don't know, man. Like, I think the Firefest documentaries tell their story in a more compelling way, but I truly think that this might have been worse conditions than Firefest. I really
for
think that.
me, what it kind of hit was the thing. If I recall, I don't think the original Woodstock had this, but I could be wrong. Where you had obviously you had hippies in the mud, but here's the difference. I don't think there were porta potties at the original. But if I said Firefest, I meant Woodstock. In the original Woodstock, just in case, in the original Woodstock, I don't think there were porta potties, or at least they weren't all corralled around the same place where the mud was. So the fact
Uh-huh.
that to me was the more horrific than the pizza box.
The
The
fact
fact
that
that
the
these
porta
people,
potties were like, yeah, they're there to like the porta potties were like the main villain of the whole story in some ways, at least as far as the conditions
I
go.
mean, that's the horrific thing to me is that people became animals in such a literal sense. They
Yes.
were
Oh
rolling around
god.
in their own filth,
I mean,
and
just
just
the fact that the entire area was just like a literal mix of fucking mud and shit.
and because they were messing with the water, and that's the mix that caused like the whole disaster. Just it wasn't like it
Uh-huh.
rained or anything. It was like no, because you guys had to be animals with like this water fountain. Look what we've
Right,
done.
right.
It's so unholy and terrifying. And then there's like literal hellfire blazing all over the place because they had candles. Like, hey, let's pay homage to the original Woodstock. Like, let's light it all on fire. We
Oh
hate Limp
god.
Bizkit. Ah,
Yeah.
let's butter this Limp Bizkit. Ah. So let's bring on Meatloaf
Nice,
next.
nice.
While we're at it, Meatloaf. Why are you called that? Anyway, so yeah, I love the meeting scenes too. How do you feel with the meeting scenes where they're all like they have like the response to like the chaos, and I just thought it was like really compelling. Where like they're asking for help, like like a guy bringing up a solution. Hey, look, if you want to offer us that, yes, do it. And then we're downplaying. Not that many rapes happened. It wasn't that bad.
Uh-huh,
It was like
uh-huh.
2 or 3 versus like 40. Which I mean, well, no, it's still pretty horrible though. Anyway, you slice that. No, it was actually 40. It's
I also
worse.
really like the story that we get of how that one group lost their friend.
Yeah.
Like that was like one of the most compelling. Like I really like that was inserted in there to give the whole story like a ground level perspective.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh
also
yeah.
it's also just kind of horrifying. Like folks, like the guards. Like you sign up and you become a guard, and then it's like, hey, I took the shirt off and I got free entry.
Oh dear God, right?
Oh god, it's despicable. All right. So yeah, so again, no Firefest, but solid. It was again, it was good.
Uh-huh. All right, so I saw Enemies of the State. I believe this is on Hulu. It's pretty good. I will admit that as far as like true crime stuff goes, it's a little bit middle of the road. And it's not really true crime. The whole thing about it is it's kind of like it's more of like a legal gray area sort of thing where it's like this underage kid, he's like 16 years old, I think, is convicted in a WikiLeaks style situation where he's like leaking classified information from the government.
Gotcha. They
He's
snowed him.
involved in that. And so the whole movie is kind of like this whole how do we like because what he is doing is good. It's like the Robin Hood thing, but at the same time, it is technically very illegal. And so the whole movie is kind of like the family sort of trying to protect the son from prosecution and how the prosecution affects the family. Dragon, it's good. It's not exactly the most compelling thing in the world. And honestly, I feel like for real world stuff like that, I'm kind of like I kind of feel weird. Like, well, it's no an American murder. You know what I mean? It's like I feel weird, like comparing and contrasting. You know what I mean? Because it's like these are real people's lives. This family's life got completely destroyed in this incident.
Just imagine you wood fire pizza mode. It's good. There's no
right.
murder.
So it's I don't know. It's like I think it's solid. I honestly, if I blame anything, I just blame kind of like the oversaturation of the genre as a whole for why I wasn't terribly into this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let me tell you about the score.
Okay.
All right, so the score. This is an 01. It's a heist movie. It was directed by Frank Oz. It was a Frank Oz movie.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, Frank Oz got a lot of people forget about this. Frank Oz was quite the director. He got around. I mean, outside of doing stuff like Dark Crystal and Muppets Take Manhattan, I mean, he experimented. That was kind of the cool thing here. Is that you feel this is Frank Oz feeling his oats for a different genre, where he's done stuff like In and Out with Kevin Kline. He did Indian in the Cupboard, which is a great one. You remember Indian in the Cupboard, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Did a Little Shop of Horrors. The list goes on. Point being, so this
How did I not know he did Little Shop of Horrors?
Yeah.
That's I feel stupid for not knowing that now.
Well, I mean, yeah. Think about the what was it, Audrey or Audrey?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Also, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. There's another one. Anyway, so point being, it's got a great and small cast. I want to really highlight that. You got De Niro, you got Edward Norton, you got frickin' Brando, one of his movies towards the end. Angela Bassett, great cast all around. I will say there is a weakness to the film, and it's not a deal breaker, just something that kind of holds it back for me, is that I think we spend too much time and too much breathing room in the heist prep. It's one of those movies where it's like we're preparing for the heist, and it's like it's not bad. It just feels like we were kind of late.
I got to admit, that's kind of like one of my holdups with heist movies, just in general, is that it always feels like it takes forever to get to the actual heist.
Now, in its defense, I absolutely get what Frank Oz is doing. I just think he might be kind of like just explore. It's more of an exploratory movie for him. He's feeling like, okay, well, if he did a heist movie, it would take this long logically. And it's like, well, he's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not really that cinematic. And like, for example, like he does, there's kind of an Albuquerque verse slant to what he's doing, and I like that. Where the movie starts with De Niro as a safecracker, and he makes a smart call. Where okay, I'm going to get caught, so I'm going to leave. He's making a smart call where it's like, well, it's not really cinematic. He's just fleeing at the top of the movie. Doesn't even get away with the money.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's also a problematic element of the movie. Edward Norton, he does something that he would never in a million years be able to get away with today. He plays a mentally challenged guy. Well, let me rephrase that. Let me be specific. Okay, so his con is that he plays a mentally challenged guy. So that's the thing. So he's in on the job. He's planning the heist with De Niro, but he infiltrates this essentially to get the item in question as a janitor or something, helping the custodian as a mentally challenged guy. And what kills me is that he interacts with Paul Soles, the original voice of the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, and Peter Parker from the '60s Spider-Man. Paul Soles, lovely actor. So Paul Soles, he's wonderful. He treats him so darn nice in this movie as the mentally challenged kind of underling. It's wonderful. So that would never fly today. But beyond that, again, Norton has has some good scenes in the movie. I mean, I love the ending of the film. It really cleans up once the heist happens. Just you gotta wait for it. So again, the score it's iffy, but it was fine.
Okay. Oh God, Dragon! We've been going on too long. I'm sorry, but I need to get up the energy because Cop Car is fucking amazing. So this is the directorial debut of John Watts.
Ah.
And oh my God, Dragon, I want him to do a movie like this again. Jesus.
So what the heck is Cop Car anyway?
Very simple premise. Two kids who are runaways. They're about 10 years old or so, give or take. They stumble upon a cop car in the middle of the woods that still has the keys in it. So what do these 10-year-old kids decide to do, Dragon? They decide to go on a joyride.
Yeah.
But come to find out, that cop car is owned by Kevin Bacon, who is like the world's most crooked police chief.
Does he have a mustache?
What?
Does he have a mustache?
Yes, he does.
Knew it. Go on.
And so, Dragon, essentially the whole movie is Kevin Bacon trying to get his cop car back from these kids.
Nice.
What I love about this movie is that it very much has a spirit of like, kind of like the youthful rebellion. Like, you hear a premise like this, and like in some ways you could play it like something like Big Fat Liar, right? Like the kids are stealing the cop car from the meaty adult, you know what I mean? But what I love what they do with this here is that the stuff with the kids it's both genuinely like sweet and innocent, but there is an air of danger to it at the same time, not just because of Kevin Bacon being on their trail, but because, Dragon, there's literally a scene in this movie where these fucking dumbass kids discover that there's guns in the back of the car, and they're just playing with the guns, and you're just like, oh God, no, kids, oh my God, no. Like, I swear to God, Dragon, the most suspenseful scene in this movie might be the scene where they're just fucking around with the guns.
How old are these kids again?
They're like 10 years old.
Oh man, it's terrifying.
Yeah. Like, I swear to God, they get the guns like right up to their faces. They're just like, how does this thing work? I'm like, oh God, no.
Don't look down the barrel.
Right.
Don't do a barrel roll.
All I can say is that this movie, like the last 20 or so minutes, oh my God, like Hitchcock would be proud. Would be proud.
Where did you find this thing?
The suspense that this thing builds up is so goddamn palatable. And it's one of those movies where like it's a very small cast, very simple story, but every little thing that happens, every single solitary human being that we see on screen comes back into the fray and plays a role in the overall narrative. And the ending is one of those, Dragon, it was a Kevin Smith end credits ending.
Nice.
It was like, oh yes, like it's one of those movies, like I often kind of say, like, me rooting for a really good ending is like me being a sports fan in some ways. And I was definitely like, yeah, fuck yeah, you did it right there, awesome.
Yeah, that's where the Oscars are, Super Bowl, where credits, touchdown.
Right, exactly, yeah. I mean, goddamn, Dragon, this is like, I don't know, it's something special, man. Like, it definitely elevated my respect for John Watts. But the thing is, as much as Fantastic Four with John Watts, that's definitely tantalizing for sure. I don't want John Watts to just make Marvel movies for the rest of his life, because this movie is so goddamn tantalizing. I really want him to do another movie like this because he was so fucking good at it. I mean, this does not feel like a debut movie, Dragon. This feels like a seasoned filmmaker. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked for it.
Okay. So, last one I have is Dirty Work. Now, Dirty Work was one of Bob Saget's big movies. I think I want to say he only directed 2 movies ever. It was like the Lifetime TV movie that basically was about what happened to his sister who passed from this scleroderma. And there was this. And this was this also, again, to tie things together from earlier. This is the movie that starred Norm Macdonald, one of Norm Macdonald. He played a leading man, which I'm sure was rare for him. So yeah, this was funny, Teague. I think it's like a cult classic kind of comedy sort of thing where critics hated this thing. easily. But this is like, if you like Norm Macdonald humor, this is like a starring, like his humor is all over this thing. It's kind of it's kind of raunchy in the Bob Saget kind of direction there. You got a lot of comedy greats and a lot of pals kind of did favors for this movie, like Chris Farley, Chevy Chase, Don Rickles, and more. They're in this film. Simple plot, very simple. Just two pals, Artie Lang and Norm Macdonald. They're friends, and their Artie Lang's father is played by the wonderful Jack Warden, who, of course, is Mr. Artunian from the Great Muppet Caper. I love that guy. Many other films, but I love that one. He needs a heart transplant, so they're trying to raise money, but they're kind of slackers. So what they do is they come up with a new business, revenge. Literally, it's a revenge business. It's almost like Ghostbusters, but with revenge. Like, you want revenge? Call us, and we'll get revenge for you. And they basically like prank people who have done people dirty. Hence, they're doing the dirty work. Yeah, it was really funny. It was just there's some really great jokes. Like there's this dead fish joke that just cracks me up, where they're thinking like, hey, we're gonna put dead fish in and kind of stink these people out of the house, but then mobsters come in. There's like a shootout, and it's all off camera, and you just hear it and you see their reaction to it. It's just hysterical. There's a lot of great jokes in it. So yeah, it's edgy cult comedy. It's quite good. I think if you ever want to check out something and see what Saget in the director's chair looked like, or Norm Macdonald, this would be the one to look at.
Cool. All right, so final one for me is Tangerine, and this is a one that I've been meaning to get to for a long time, actually. It's directed by the same guy that did the Florida Project.
Ooh.
And the claim to fame of this movie, Dragon, I've known about it for a while, is that it was all shot. Oh, hold on, let me look this up just to make sure I get it right. Sorry, it was all shot on. I'm pretty sure an iPhone. Yeah, an iPhone. Yeah. And so that is, the thing is, this is a very, very LA movie, but it's an incredibly specific part of LA, which is like kind of like that rundown section of LA, sort of between Skid Row and the actual Tinseltown of LA. You know what I mean? Kind of like that awkward sort of middle ground area where it's like you're not quite in danger yet, but it's certainly sketchy. And so what I love about the iPhone aesthetic is that it very much gives the film like this sort of hazy, kind of dreamlike feel to it. The movie is it's kind of a romp. It's kind of like a romp of misunderstandings, but it's about well, there's no easy way to say it, right? It's a pretty provocative premise. It's about a pair of transgender sex workers, and the whole film revolves around the main character. Her pimp / boyfriend is cheating on her, and so she has to go around town trying to find him and teach the dude a lesson. So it's very much like a comedy of errors in a way. I really like the fact that the main character is just kind of like this volatile spitfire, where she was literally just released from prison, and her best friend is just like, look, you gotta chill, and but no, there's no chill to be had with this character, and it is a larger than life performance. I love the name of the character. The name of the character is Sin-Dee, and that's spelled SIN -DEE. Sin-Dee. So yeah, it's a romp, Dragon. It really is. It's it's a romp of the sinful, sketchy, grungy side of LA. It very much has a reverence for LA, but like I said, it has a reverence for the sketchy side of LA that no one really appreciates. And that's kind of what I like about it. It also has a really solid ending. That's one of the few like very tender and sweet moments in the film. It kind of saves its one really sweet moment for the very end, which I appreciated after all the chaos that it kind of took us on. I don't think it's as good as something like Cop Car, but it's certainly probably the second best movie that I saw this month, which leads us to our best and worst. Dragon, can you guess what the worst movie I saw this month was?
Well, I'm going to take the old college try at it here. I'm going to say it's the Ice Age movie that wasn't really about Buck Wild.
Yep.
Nailed it.
And the best one, Cop Car. I'm raving about Cop Car. Cop Car
Whoa.
was fucking awesome. Totally exceeded my expectations.
Okay. Worst for me, I think de facto, it's not like an aggressive worst, but just I mean, it's between the score and Woodstock, and I think the score probably, I mean, it kind of deflated me more, so it's probably the
Oh,
score.
don't you dare say Woodstock. I mean, I know you weren't a huge fan of that one, but it's got a lot of merit to
Again,
it.
I said de facto. I didn't really have
Yeah.
many bad movies. I went out of my way to avoid the bad stuff, as you learned the hard way. So
You know what? If I didn't watch those two movies, we'd have nothing.
I know I'm appreciative.
We'd
I'm just
have the
like,
tender bar in the middle of the book, and that's not even technically a 2022 movie. All right. Anyways,
anyway.
it's
So
the worst.
if well, I said the worst already.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so the best. I mean, honestly, if I could say a TV show, it would be that Cosby thing. 'Cause I'm raving about that, but I can't do that. The
Okay, you know
best.
what the funny thing is that I'm super glad that Cop Car came along because that's like the last thing I watched of the month. And before that, I was honestly like, I don't know. Do I want to just break the rule and just say, like, I don't know what to tell you? The TV show was the best thing I saw this month. But no, Cop Car definitively best. Anyways, go ahead.
Now again, in my heart of hearts, I'd love to say, we need to talk about Cosby, but no, it's Ron's Gone Wrong. That was great.
Uh-huh. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
really impressed me. It's really like, did not expect
Glad
to
you
be won
liked it.
over by it, but it was wonderful. Yes.
All right. Well, folks, we've waxed on long enough. And it's time to put the pen down. Until the next chapter in our Movie Memoirs.
Meatloaf.
Disney, please just let Ice Age die already.
Why is he called that?